Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of the most iconic circuits in British motorsport, Brands Hatch, and we're here for round 5 of the DWRC season. Qualifying has just started to begin at a track that has challenged the very best for generations. This place may look compact on the map, but make no mistake, Brands Hatch is a driver's circuit through and through. With just over 3.9 kilometres around the Grand Prix layout, packed with elevation changes, fast sweeping corners, and absolutely no room for error. The lap begins at one of the most dramatic opening corners in motorsport, Paddock Hill Bend. Blind entry, steep downhill drop, and if you're even slightly out of line, the gravel will be waiting. Then it's a climb up towards Druids, heavy braking, tight hairpin, and a real test of balance and patience. From then, it's all about rhythm into Graham Hill Bend through Surtees and on to the sweeping Pilgrim's Drop. Before diving into one of the fastest sections on the circuit, precision is everything here and every corner flows into the next. A mistake early in the lap can haunt you all the way to the line. And then the final sector, Hawthorne Bend, Westfield, Sheen Curve and Stirlings. High commitment where the bravest drivers find those final tenths. Get it right and the car dances, get it wrong and the lap disappears instantly. Qualifying at Brands Hatch is always tight. The lap is short, the field is close, and finding a clean track can be just as important as outright speed. Expect the drivers to head out early and stake their claim, then return for one flying lap as the clock winds down. Because today it's all about securing starting position for that sprint race before the top 20 gets inverted. Welcome everybody to round 5 of the Darkwing Racing Endurance Championship. And as we said, we're here at Brands Hatch circuit today. It's the classic British overcast weather, a little bit of sun peeking out at some points, but crucially for those drivers out there, no chance of rain. Let's take a little rundown of the current championship standings out there. Starting up first with that pro class, it's going to be Eric Gerbhardt who's leading the way on 1,141 points. He's gained up one position since last time out. Harrison Brinker up 4, very close behind. Then it's going to be Timo Gartner, Nicholas, Nick, Jan and Max Patton. Matthew Cheverton and Benjamin Lindsay are going to round out your top 10. Having a little look at the Pro-Am class, it's going to be Daniel Kovacs, who had an amazing display out last time at Interlagos. He leads the way on 1,131 points. Brandon Vincent Squibb, once again, very close in behind, so a very tight fight on for P1 in that championship. Gabon Aguibea, Sean Ferreira and Michael Rhodes make up your top 5. Jeffrey Damon, Akos Varga, Giuseppe, Carsten Walter and Neville Sheaf make up the top 10. Going a bit further back, Alexander Drake, Michael, Pete and Alistair Hamilton all languishing in the back of the points. Then finally, in our AM class, it is going to be JT Sawyer who currently leads the way on 795 points, leading James Vernon, who is on 777, and Stefan Heinrichs on 768. But Kit Blair is very fast, and he's only slightly behind on 717. Simon Hartley's on 611, and Garcia is going to be on 457. Andy Keane on 422. It's all still very close in that mid-pack. So then, let's have ourselves a little look at what's happening out there on the track during qualifying and see exactly what is going on out there. Have a little check at the lap times out there. If I can find the right button. There it is. It's going to be Eric Gerbhardt in that pro class who has set the fastest time out there so far. He has a 1:22.420, and do apologise for one moment while I remember to turn my voice chat off. Only did it once during this whole championship, and today's the date that I accidentally left it on. But thank you to Michael Rhodes there, who was testing it for us, as we can bring you back to the live picture there and bring our graphics back in, of course. 5 minutes into qualifying. As I said, Eric Gerbhardt leads the way. Kit Blair, very fast indeed in that pro class. Very interesting indeed. And Jake Pitcock and Walter comes across the line there. He's going to be 6.5 tenths off the pace. We have got 19 drivers out there, slightly less than we've seen the rest of this season, but mostly down to Brands Hatch not being a super popular circuit for the GT3 cars in iRacing. But to be honest, I'm pretty surprised by that, because it is certainly an interesting track to drive. Kit Blair goes first overall, a 22.101, absolutely flying in that AM class right now. And heading back out of the pace, 3 tenths faster than Eric. I have heard from some drivers before this race began that they think Kip shouldn't be in the AM class, and certainly this outing is not supporting it at all. Watching Gabor Nagibea there coming through the first couple of turns off this lap. He's 6 tenths off of the pace right now, and in that AM class, looking like a little bit of a mixed up grid as we see Rudd go 10th place overall. Of course, it's going to be a reasonably cool track out there, so it might take a little bit of time for some of our drivers to heat up their tyres. We've got Brandon Vincent Squibb. He's just come across the line. He had some good times in the middle sector, but he went second, but now third, as Eric is in second place now overall, and Kit Blair is in the pit lane. Oh, I say that. I think he might just be starting to head out on track. No, I think that might just be the end of his pit lane. Gabor Nagibea coming up to the line now. He's set a purple 4th sector. Where does that set him on the standings overall? Well, I think temporarily it made him 5th until Matthew Shepperson crossed the line, and now it's made him 7th because Jake Pitt across the line. David Michael Sarro setting some personal best sectors. Unfortunately, only good enough for 14th overall for him. Someone who's been going very well this season is Harrison Brinker. He is only 15th. Looks more like a warm-up lap for him than anything else at the moment. And let's see, Rudd looks like he's setting some good times coming towards the end of the lap. He crosses the line, going to be a 1:22.3 to go 4th overall. Carsten Walter coming up to the line. He is going to do a sorry, I missed the exact time there, but he's a 10th off of the pace. That would be a 1:22.2. Kit Blair's lap yet to be usurped despite many laps around, and almost Eric there coming up against it, but he's 6/100ths of a second behind, and he's going to have to find a little bit more lap time in order to end up at the top of that timing tower. Nobody else setting purples so far, so let's just keep our eye on Eric here and see what he can do. Car getting out of the way. Has got his teammate in front of him. I wonder if he's giving him a bit of a tow around some of those laps. Although I am seeing Harrison Brinker, he had set purple middle sectors, but he's just dropped off. I think he might have had an accident. He did. He's in the pit lane. So he's been setting a fast time, but wasn't able to keep it on the way. Andy Keane yet to set a lap time. He comes across the line, and he is going to do himself a 1:23.4 to go 12th overall, make himself 4th in the AM class, but very close up to the back of JT Sawyer and James Vernon, who are very close together themselves. Bring ourselves up with Eric. Oh, and he comes across an accident there. That is not going to help his lap time one little bit, and I think that might ruin his lap, as we'll see him come up on the timing pages. He did set a personal best in the first sector, but I don't think that crash is going to allow him to put himself to the front of the field. No, it's not. I think he'd been near 23.4 getting out of the way of those cars that were spun across the track. Is he going to go again for another push lap? Remains to be seen. Looks like he's going pretty fast. Looks like he might have just got an off track there, potentially. Didn't see, but he was very much on the edge of the curb, and I think that that he is maybe not pushing super hard on this lap. Andy Keane is improving. He set personal best for the second and fourth sector. He's going to come up across the line. Is he going to improve his position from 12th on the grid? Going to be a 23.8 and no improvement in terms of position. Walter right now in fourth position, coming towards the end of the lap. He's set the fastest first sector overall. His fourth sector's looking pretty good as well, but how much time has he dropped in those second, third and fifth sectors? Is he going to be able to move himself up the timing tower? No, not on this occasion. A 23.9. Brandon Vincent Squibb also going very fast. He comes across the line and he sets the fastest time by 0.5 of a second. Is that track getting faster? Because Eric has just come across the line and he has improved by quite a way, and he's 0.2 off the pace. Maybe this track is coming to drivers a little bit. Looks like there might have been a bit of an accident in the background there, or maybe they're just all queuing up to try and get out of the way of the fast cars lapping around them. Few cars heading to the pit lane and going on out laps, refilling with fuel, refilling with some brand new tyres, and hoping to get themselves a little bit more pace. We got Rudd in P7. He's improving right now in that final part of the lap. He's got 2 personal bests. What is it going to look like as he heads through the 5th sector of this lap? Is it going to be a personal best? Yes, it is. It's going to be 3 personal bests, 2 non-personal bests. Is that going to move him up from 7th position overall right now? Let's have a little look. As he comes across the line, he's going to do a 1:22.9. No, he's not. He is going to do it at 1:22.9, but it's going to move him up to... sorry, that was a 21.9. He's going to move himself up to 3rd overall. Kit Blair starting to fall down that order and hasn't been able to put a lap time to compete with some of these AM and pro class drivers. Brandon Vincent Squibb comes to the end of his lap. He's 11/10 off the pace. Must be warming up his tyres. Nicholas Ferreira comes up though, and he has done a great lap to go P2, but still no one usurping Brandon Vincent Squibb at the top of that timing table. Nick Djokovic here, 18th right now. Is he going to stay there? Hopefully for him he's not, but only P12, 1.2 seconds off the pace, and behind the AM class driver of JT Sawyer. Once again, looks like Andy Keane is improving on his lap time out there right now. He's got 2 personal bests in his lap so far. Is he going to be able to get closer to the back of James Vernon, or maybe do even better? Let's have a look. He does make an improvement, but it's only slight. Doesn't move him up any positions, unfortunately for him, at this stage. Harrison Brinker, very disappointing position for him right now. He's down in 18th place, but it doesn't look like he's set a real lap time out there at the moment, so let's follow around. Actually, I don't think he's going to be setting one on this lap either. He still looks like he might be warming up his tyres. Indeed, lots of tyre warming happening all over the place for Harrison at the moment, so not expecting a fast time of him out yet. Nick Djokovic is in 6th place. He's behind some AM class drivers, as we said. Looks like he's improving nicely though. What's he going to do as he comes across the line, down that little dip, and there's the finish line there. He is going to improve, I think, and go up to P9 overall. He is a lot closer to those pro class drivers, and with the exception of Vincent Squibb, Blair and Walter, he's actually forming quite a nice pro class pack out there. And then he's gone ever so slightly wide there, but Rudd School in that Mustang, he's set the best first sector of anyone. Is it going to be enough to move him up to 1st place overall? No, only 3rd position, but move himself to 2/10 behind our current pole sitter of Brandon Vincent Squibb, who is still out there on the track, and he has improved slightly in the 3rd sector of this lap, but it doesn't look like it is going to be lighting up the timing screens just because he hasn't set personal best anywhere else on the lap. Is he going to improve his lap time on this occasion? I don't think so. No, he doesn't. And I think he's going around to try and build a bit of a gap, because there's always the worry out there that those pro class drivers behind him are going to be able to run up his time there. Michael Rhodes, he hasn't set a lap time yet. I think he's just come across the line. Yes, he has. Was it a valid lap time, though? I don't think so, because he's not appeared on the timing tower and hasn't been given a position yet. So he only has 14 minutes left in this qualifying session, so he is going to want to pull his finger out a little bit. Harrison Brinker has set some improvement in terms of lap time, but he's still 2.9 seconds. Correct me. He's 1.3 seconds off the pace there, but still quite a disappointing race start for him thus far. But of course, that is probably not going to stand, as Brandon Vincent Squibb is improving out there. He's set the best third sector, the best fourth sector of anyone out on that track. What's he going to be when he comes across the start-finish line? It's surely going to be an improvement on his current pole time. It's currently a 1:21.6. He comes across the line and makes it a 1:21.536. Kit Blair also improving out there on the track. He's set some pretty good sector times so far. All improvements all round. Is it enough to move him up into the top 3? Maybe the top 4? No, it is not. He stays P5 at the moment. And Michael Rhodes finally does set a lap time on the board in that Pro-Am class to go 17th overall. Harrison Brinker from that P13 position. He's just come across the start-finish line, hoping for a bit of an improvement in terms of position for him, but he still stays P13 for now. Rudd School hasn't had an amazing lap, but he has set a fastest fourth sector. Isn't going to be any improvement in terms of position right now. And maybe that track has just mellowed out slightly in terms of improvement, because we are seeing a lot of yellow on our screens, little bit of green in some places, like from Carsten Walter there, but not really anyone improving by enough time to move them up the timing tower, as I think Brandon Vincent Squibb there, he's done a 1:21.3. He is absolutely flying out there on this Brands Hatch circuit, as is Kit Blair. Everyone's saying he needs to be moved up out of AM class. I think he will be out of this race. If he's able to make a significant dent on that pro class. Yes, he is. He goes second place overall. An absolutely lightning showing for Kit Blair. Looks like we might have Andy Keane off the road there, maybe pushing a bit too hard on his outlap. And looks like Harrison Brinker has finally got himself up to pace, coming up towards the end of this lap. He set a purple end of the lap. He is going to come first overall, and says Brandon Vincent Squibb, who had set a better time, absolutely not, by 5/100ths of a second. And it looks like he still might be pushing on to try and improve with just over 10 minutes to go in this qualifying session. We have Pro, Pro-Am, Pro, and Am class drivers up in there. A certainly mixed up grid at the front. If you are new to DWREC, this is a sprint and feature round, which means our first race half an hour long, and then for the main race, it's going to be the top 20 positions inverted, which we've only got 19 drivers out on the track today, so the whole grid will be inverted for that feature race. Right, on board in the Aussies McLaren. He cuts across there, he's going wide. Looks like lots of people have been wide through some of those marks in the mud, and we'll wait for it to pop up on our screens to see how well Harrison has done this lap. He's got quite a few cars in front of him who are finishing their lap. He set a purple third and fourth sector. Surely this is going to extend his lead at the front of the field. It is a 1:21.0 for him, and he extends that gap 0.3 of a second now is certainly going to pull himself over to the side of the road. I'm very happy with that that P1 for him, and I can see why he is as well. Oh, there's a little bit of a technical hitch there. Let's have a look at Andy Keane in the Greg's liveried car. He is currently 16th overall, just in front of Michael Rhodes. And he hasn't set the timing screens alight thus far in his lap. First 4 sectors, all not personal best. Garcia has set a personal best in that 3rd sector of the lap, but also doesn't look to be making massive inroads. Might be able to catch up with the back of Michael Rhodes, depending on how big that time saving was. And unfortunately for Garcia, it is not an improvement right now. Nicholas Pereira right now in P5. He's about to come across the line as he comes round the end of the lap. He's had some good improvements in the middle part of this lap. Is he able to get in front of Kip Blair at this stage? He's 7/10 off the pace right now, but it is not going to move him up at this particular opportunity. Carson Walter, he's in P9 at the moment in that yellow Chevrolet. He comes across the line. It's going to be a 1:22.0 for him. Exactly 1 second off of Harrison Brinker's pro time right now. So very close indeed. Talking of close, let's have a little look at how close all of these lap times are together. There is not a gap bigger than 0.4 of a second between anybody on the grid right now. So expect some exciting and spicy racing, especially during that that sprint race, as everyone has half an hour to try and gain as many points as possible. And then when you have the slowest drivers in terms of race time in the sprint race at the front, it's going to be very interesting to see some of these drivers fight through on a track that is pretty difficult to overtake on. Let's have a little look back at the timing tower, as I think everybody is kind of heading out on the track now and hoping to get their tyres up to temperature for those final runs of the session. A reminder for you, unlike our regular races where we don't have sprint races, if you cross the start-finish line before the checkered flag comes out, you get some time to finish your lap. However, that is not the case out there for a sprint weekend. Once the checkered flag comes out, there is no more finishing anyone's laps at all. So you definitely need to try and find a bit of pace out there to get your tyres warmed up. With 7 minutes to go, you're only going to have maybe 3 or 4 laps to warm up your tyres before you have to go and push for a few laps, try and get all that lap time. Seeing Garcia move out of the way of a car behind him and actually pull over to the side of the road. I wonder if he's going to come back out with 6 minutes remaining in the session. Harrison Brinker remains in the pit lane, but his current rival for pole right now, Brandon Vittensquib, is out on the track. He's not going to be setting any fast lap times. I think he's still warming his tyres up because he pulled over to let the car in front of him of Rudd School through, who's currently in P3. So is going to be challenging him, but not with that lap time. It is going to be a 22.4 right now for the Mustang driver. And looks like quite a few drivers right now who are waiting a little bit to warm up their tyres, get them in the optimum range as we just tick over with 5 minutes to go. Absolutely nobody approaching the start-finish line right now who is improving. Apart from, I did just see that out the corner of my eye. Looks like Rudd here does have a fastest first sector at the moment, as does Akos Varga, who sets a fastest fourth sector of their own lap times. Let's see if either of them are able to improve on their laps right now. Matthew Cheverton also improving a little bit further back on the lap. He's in 11th place overall right now as the pro class driver. First across the line is going to be Rudd, and he has not improved on that lap. It's a 23.5, and everybody is going through now. Matthew Cheverton, he is going to set himself a 1:22.1. That moves him up to 9th place overall. Gawanagi Beya right now, he is going to be 3rd place in that Pro-Am class. Is he going to be able to move it up any further? No, he's into the pits. Michael Rhodes improving, currently towards the back of the pack. He is set a fast end to his lap. Is it enough to improve? It's a 23.4, fastest lap that he's set today, but it is not enough to move him in front of Andy Keane. And just in time, with 3 minutes to go, in fact, I believe that Zach is able to join us. Is that right?
Hey, Lewis, how's it going? Sorry about that.
No problem at all. We've been watching an interesting qualifying session out there, and quite a few different drivers in different places in the standings. We've got Brandon Vincent Squibb, who we saw last time out, being very competent in that Mustang, and then Kit Blair, 4th place overall in that AM class. Are we seeing maybe another Max Patton type character, do you think, Zach?
I mean, he's been pretty fast since the beginning of the season, so it may be something that we'll have to look at. It may also just be a track that he's comfortable with, but, you know, I know from experience, Brands Hatch is not a particularly popular track, so I'm thinking he might just be a fast driver.
He may have just put in a lot of practice today in order to nail Brands Hatch out there, because, yeah, as you say, I don't think many of these drivers will have experience from running it in official series, and that's maybe why we're seeing the likes of maybe Nick Djokovic there, who's normally very fast, down in 12th place overall. Just don't have the experience with this circuit, but it can all be reset, because in just under 2 minutes time we are going to be heading into the sprint race, which the grid is set from qualifying, but then the whole grid today is going to be inverted. So certainly lots of chance to maybe pick up some points if you're not the fastest around this circuit. Getting faster around this circuit, Andy Keane, he's improved his lap time, but Matthew Cheverton, one of our pro class drivers, 9th place overall right now, but has made big improvements in the 1st, 2nd and 4th sector. Is he going to be able to move up from his 9th place, maybe get in front of those AM drivers and get himself to the back of that pro pack at the top of the field? And let's see what he does as he comes across the line. He is going to do himself a 1:22.0. It is an improvement, but he's still 2/100th of a second off the back of Carsten Walter. And he is going to have to live in that position now, because the checkered flag will come out before he's able to set his next lap.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting race. The fastest lap and the time splits are actually pretty wide here. We've got, like, you know, in some cases, like a 2 to 3 second gap in time. So I think that's going to be very interesting. If not in the sprint race, definitely in the feature.
Indeed, you say that, Zach, but everyone in terms of lap time is reasonably close to the car in front of them. No more than 0.4 of a second over the whole grid, all the way down to P17. So I'm not sure that, you know, there's going to be a big gap of cars who aren't racing each other. I think we're going to see that classic kind of little packs of cars of similar pace close together with, well, let's have a look. There's a big gap at the moment between P7 and P6. And maybe a slight gap with JT Sawyer and Michael Rhodes. But I think everyone's going to be racing at a similar pace out there.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how this works out. I mean, like we all were saying, this isn't a very popular track, so, you know, I think for a lot of these drivers, the sprint race may be the, hey, let's get some track knowledge down, and then, you know, really kick the boot off when it comes to that feature race. I guess we'll have to find out.
Well, let's find out what our grid is looking like then for the start of the sprint race. It's going to be Harrison Brinker who takes pole, and a great result again from Brandon Vincent Squibb to line up P2. Eric Gerbhub in the number 63 alongside the 181 taking up row number 2. Pip Blair, great showing from him in 5th place. He's got Nicholas Ferreira alongside. Carsten Walter and Matthew Cheverton make up your 4th row, with Gabon Aguibea and Jake Pitt finishing out the top 10. Going to be Sean Ferreira and Nick Djokovic who come P11 and P12 respectively. Then it's going to be Akos Varga, JT Sawyer, Michael Rose, James Vernon, Andy Keane, Garcia and Sorrow who make up the back of your grid, reasonably within each other's class packs, but there are still a few outliers out there. And of course, with those overall position points to come, a race where maybe there aren't the most drivers turning up because it's not super popular, this is certainly a chance for some of those who might be a bit further behind in the championship to catch up. Here we are then, just 30 seconds before those drivers take off for their formation lap, and you can see them all getting in their grid boxes right now as we speak. Just waiting for Nick Djokovic and James Vernon to get in their car. So they only got 15 seconds. James Vernon actually now becoming the last person who might choose to start from the pit lane. They're not in their car currently, and the clock is about to tick over. So maybe a choice pit lane start there, or maybe some sort of equipment issue, as the pace car will take off around the circuit in just a brief moment. There it is, and we will see them head off for a full formation lap. Lots of time to get some heat into your tyres and get a little bit of an eye on what your rivals might be doing. Now, they only have 50% fuel tanks today in comparison to their regular 70%. When we were at Watkins Glen, it was a very full, flat-to-the-floor circuit. I'm wondering if there's going to be a bit of fuel saving in this race to not make the pit stop, because it is a very slow pit lane here. You've got a bit of chicane on the way in, and then the speed limit's very low as well. I think the time loss from a pit stop is actually quite large for what is quite a short pit lane. So interesting to see if anyone at all can make it the full sprint race without having to refuel, and being a little bit different to Watkins Glen, it might be possible.
Lewis and I were talking about it earlier, and I think up until about 30 minutes before practice started, Lewis nor I owned this track. So, my knowledge of this one isn't too popular, but from what I've seen so far, it's a very tight, very short track, lots of corners. So I'd imagine there's a lot of places to fuel save here.
Absolutely, and hard to pass as well because of that thin nature of the track. I think that you're certainly going to see it in the feature race a bit, when the grid is inverted, that you've got to be a little bit punchy in order to get a position here. And hopefully that doesn't result in a big pile-up at turn 1, and instead results in some great racing. But you're completely right. I've driven it on other racing sims as well, and the GT3 cars, it is going to be a bit of a challenge out there, but probably quite a few opportunities to save fuel.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see who decides to, take the win, get the points, and then try to fight their way back up in the feature race. Or, just kind of try to hold where they're at. This is going to be a really good one. And here we go, green flag.
Green flag, and away pulls Harrison Brinker as the grid, and they're looking like they're staying 2 by 2 as we head down towards turn 1. Harrison Brinker continues to lead, but then we've got a spinner in the middle of the pack there, and a lot of people are going to have to do a lot of avoiding further back in that pack. We're going to have a little look at that in a little bit, but it is Harrison Brinker who leads the way. I can't see exactly who it was who ended up there. spinning round. I think it might have been Brandon Vincent Squibb. There's more cars off in the background there. Very thin and tight track. Garcia is in the pit lane, and there might have been a little bit of a scuffle there. Didn't look like any outrageous moves at the beginning of this race, but certainly something to go and have a look back on and see what happens. Some big gainers from that start. Michael Rhodes up to P10 overall right now. He started all the way down in P15. So some real big gainers in some of that chaos that happened at the start, and some real big losers. As I'm seeing a car off the track there, a lot of gravel. I think that might be Nicholas Ferreira. He's down 9 positions, and there has been a lot of chaos in this start, but it looks like most of them have made it through cleanly.
Yeah, this is going to be a track where it's going to be really hard to get, super racy when the track is so tight, especially on cold tires. Like, you got to be really careful and really strategic on how you're using that brake and that throttle.
Absolutely, and we're seeing Michael Rhodes tucked up behind Akos Varga here. He is found a bit more pace, I think, in the race compared to he did in qualifying. He's looking up the inside. Is he going to be able to squeeze his way right in tight with the curb there? He's got through for now, but it's going to be the inside for the Porsche this time, and Michael Rhodes isn't able to make the move stick, and he is going to have to stay. But who's that? Harrison Brinker, 7 down. What has happened to him? He's in the middle of the pack as we've got a spinner in the background. What on earth has happened to our race leader, Harrison Brinker, in the middle of that pack? This track is very tight. The gravel is very close to the edge.
Oh.
What's happened,
Yep,
Zach?
it looks like he just, had throttle coming out of, what is that, 1, 2, 3, tier turn 5. Got himself over the curb and just unsteadied that car and sent himself off. Luckily, it doesn't look like he got any damage or anything serious from that, so it's just going to be the, a little bit of a pride hit and some time that he's got to make up, and we'll see how he's going to be able to do that.
Michael Rhodes getting passed by Jake Pitt there. I don't think he was expecting it because he was off the road as that number 15 car made its way through. Everyone's staying pretty close together. We've got David Michael Sarro, who might have been involved in an incident at the start. James Vernon, who started from the pit lane. And Garcia, who is in the pits right now. Going to be interesting to go and see what happened about that. I want to have a little look then. What happened to our race leader of Harrison Brinker at the beginning of this race? So, yeah, a little bit too much on the throttle, and yeah, that's a little bit of a pride loss, I think, on cold tyres. And of course, you're right at the start of the race. You've got to make a sensible rejoin, and you've got all of the cars who are heading through on a tight, twisted track. He's got a lot of work to do in order to get himself back up. There, I think you can see in the background of that very shot, David Michael Sarro. What has happened to him? He's on the inside. Nobody particularly close to him. And he goes for a spin all by himself. And actually very lucky to not collect another car in there.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I gotta give Harrison credit for that rejoin. He was able to get his car back on the track. He stayed out of everybody's way, but he, was able to kind of stop the bleeding without causing too much trouble for anybody. So that was pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and call that one out.
Oh, I think Brandon Vincent Squibb. Oh, that's horrible to watch. You've got cars all around you there. Ooh, did he clip Garcia? Because I know Garcia went into the pit lane, and I think he might have done, because that car is missing the back of its rear wing, and I don't know if he drove forward into Garcia there. Let's have a little look here. We can see from behind there's just a car spun in the middle of this pack somewhere, and it's hard to see, and I can't exactly tell what happened from that camera angle, whether he drove forwards or what happened. We can have a little look top down from the chopper. So you've got Garcia, he's on your left hand side right there, and yeah, I think Vincent Squibb, he moved forward and went into Garcia. I think the stewards are going to want to have a real good look at that one, because he got quite lucky, actually, to end up not really collecting anyone. I know a few people went into the gravel, but he didn't really collect anyone. The fact he was spun in the pit lane, sorry, in the first corner, got quite lucky, apart from for Garcia. So maybe got off a bit lightly, but certainly not an amazing rejoin from him.
Yeah, it was almost perfect. Pretty much everybody got away clean. Just, let off the brakes a little early. Didn't see or hear the last two cars coming. And, sometimes that happens. It's a mistake, that can be a part of racing. But I think the stewards will definitely be having a look at that one.
Well, we're seeing here on your screens, Kip Blair, he qualified very well, but he's now behind JT Sawyer, in front of JT Sawyer. JT Sawyer's going to go around the outside there, but it's going to be Kip Blair who makes up the position, and Brandon Vincent Squibb, who is in behind JT. Is he going to lose two position in as many corners? I think it might be, unfortunately, for JT at this stage. He is racing Vincent Squibb hard. And it's going to be straight through goes Vincent Squibb. And I think we had a car off on the side of the road there. I think that might have been Akos Varga there. Let's have a look at what happened to him. All by himself in the middle of the road. Is this going to be a bit of a unfortunate overcarry of speed? He goes into the grass there. And indeed, he's just gone for a little spin all by himself. Didn't see him with any damage. No, I think he got away with that one and is able to just drive straight back onto the road.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing a lot of here, especially maybe from some of the AMs and Pro-Ams, just a little bit of track knowledge. You don't really race it a whole lot. You have the anxiety and, the nerves of the race going on. And I've had it happen to me before, too. You kind of just forget what corner you're in, and by the time you realize it, it can be a little tough to get on those brakes.
Absolutely. Well, he's going to have lost a good few positions. He's in P14 overall, and Harrison Brinker, he's going to be wanting to make up positions from that lead. He's in P5 right now, but he's behind the Pro Class driver of Matthew Cheverton, and looking very racy on the back end of that Mercedes, but it's a little bit of a train here, and it's one of those unfortunate things, I think, in iRacing, where if you've got so many cars close together, you can't really make a move on one of them because you're going to end up going into the side of the one in front of them with any sort of late braking move. So has to be very strategic, I think, in where he chooses to make his move without causing an incident, because of course he's already lost some places from spinning off the track. Not going to want to lose any more from a potential collision.
Definitely some tight racing. We'll see how these guys handle this situation.
Absolutely. I mean, the gaps, they're very close in behind. I think that was a bit of a wiggle on the exit of the corner there for Matthew Cheverton, who pretty much after that wiggle lets Harrison Brinker by. He is up to P4 and now needs to chase down the rest of that pack. Well, I do want to go and have a little look at that again. Let's have a replay there and see. Oh, I think Harrison might have just touched his rear end there, which is what gave him the little wiggle. And, well, it moved him past, but I'm sure that he wouldn't have wanted to touch the back of him. Maybe just a bit surprised by how little the Mercedes was accelerating.
Yeah, sometimes, especially on tracks like this, with how, close the corners are, if you get a bad exit or something happens on one, it can really affect your exit speed. And if the driver isn't really expecting that and they're going at a normal speed, it can be hard to get that car slowed down without, spinning out yourself.
Absolutely. And it has dropped Matthew Cheverton off the back of this little train here. He's 1 and a bit seconds back. But if Carsten Walter and Gabel here start fighting, which it looks like they might have been for the first few laps, it is going to bring him straight back into it. But now these two can firmly see that black, green and yellow Mercedes McLaren in his background. It's not been a particularly successful day for Australians in McLarens. So let's see whether Harrison Brinker is able to make a move here, as wide goes the number 017, and Harrison Brinker doesn't need to be told twice that there is a gap on the inside, very cleanly up the inside and perfectly past as he heads into turn number 3.
And a lot of the time, that's what makes the difference in these races, even in the sprints. It's not really about how fast you are as much as it is about how consistently you can put down those laps, right? One little mistake can cost, you know, positions at a time. So as long as you're able to be consistent, you can kind of find yourself in a pretty good position in most of these tracks.
Absolutely. We've got Nick here on the back of Jake, 35.015. He's looking very close indeed in that Porsche. Might have found himself a bit of pace after qualifying now that the cars are on some more fuel. And he is certainly not beating around the bush. Up 4 positions in this race so far for him. Second highest gainer as Carsten Walter, I think, has been off the track potentially. He's definitely got passed by Harrison Brinker. Let's go have a little look at what happened to him. And, well, we were a little bit obscured by the trees there, but I'm sure you can piece it together. He was on the track, he wasn't on the track, and Harrison Brinker was up the inside.
Yeah, when you have someone that fast behind you, it can really, you know, almost force mistakes as you try to keep up or, you know, try to put yourself in a position where you're not, you know, letting them by, but you're not losing too much time either.
Absolutely, and that puts these 2 Pro-Am drivers, who are very close together, back on battle with each other once again. And it is the Chev who leads from the Aston Martin right now. And I think that they're going to stay very close. And they do have Matthew Cheverton, who has caught up a little bit behind them to think about. And indeed, you're right, Zach. That psychology of having a faster car behind you can be very powerful out there, especially when you're on such a thin track like this one.
Looks like Harrison's made his way back into second. He ran a 1:21.8 this last lap, so he is running a bit faster than Eric. So we'll see with the remaining time if he's able to catch back up and make his way back to P1 after that mistake.
Indeed, 2.5 seconds is the gap between them, and as you say, it's going to be faster. Oh, they're going left, right down that straight. We're not sure who was weaving, but the racing is definitely intense between these two here. They are separated by just under a tenth of a second going down that straight, and those high-speed moves, such a thin track, I thought it was going to end in disaster.
Yeah, that's the tough part, especially on these tighter tracks, is, you know, you only have a couple straightaways, and the straightaways you do have aren't very wide to do any really big switchbacks or anything like that. So the moves you make can sometimes be risky when you're going for, you know, any pass on a track like this.
Absolutely, and we've seen it. It seems to be the kind of little mistakes out there that are giving you the you know, quite a few passes on the track. So I think it's very interesting to see whether kind of forcing a mistake from someone else and making them think you're about to send a ridiculous dive bomb or something similar is the psychology that some of these drivers are using to make up positions. Got Nick Djokovic here. He's dispatched of Jake Pitt. Is he going to dispatch of Sean Ferreira? He takes a tighter line through the final corner. He's on the inside of the Mercedes. I don't think Sean is fighting it too hard, as Nick is making up 6 places so far in this race, and that moves him into 6th position himself. But
you definitely see as this race continues. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's not going to stop Sean Ferreira, and it's going to be into the wall for Nick there. It looked like he ran out of grip at that moment. I think he's going to have to do a bit of a 4-point turn and hope to not take his rear wing off or take any car off, because he is falling backwards in the pack. He was doing so well. He'd made up 6 positions in this race. He's down 2. I think he's about to be down 3, and he's got quite a lot of damage to the front nose of that Porsche. Have a little look at the replay there. That's a slightly too far forward. There we go. He was cutting to the inside, and I think he was a little bit surprised maybe at how little Sean was accelerating compared to the Porsche. We know that Porsche is very good at kind of accelerating off of the corner, and I want to have a look on board at what happened in his cockpit there. He's turned in, and Oh, I think he just had a bit too much power. You can hear the wheel
it.
spin. Yeah, you can hear the wheel spin, and that's very unfortunate for him because he was making up great time in this race so far. And it's an awkward part of the track to kind of end up facing the wrong way at, because you don't want to stick it in reverse, because otherwise you'll take your rear wing off on the wall.
Man. I know that's a tough feeling. I've had that happen to me in races before where, you're doing really good, you're feeling great, and then, you're coming out of a corner and you just put a little bit too much throttle, maybe a little bit of dirty air, and, it's enough to just unsettle the car. And when you're going at those speeds, the car spins faster than you're able to catch it.
Absolutely. I think maybe the corner I've done that the most is coming onto NASCAR 2 at Daytona. You get up, you're ready to hit on the power, and your tyres stay absolutely not. We've got Kit Blair right now. He's on the back of Brandon Vincent Squibb. I think I saw in one of those camera shots, yeah, I think there's a bit of damage on the front end of that Mustang from that, presumably from that collision he had with Garcia at the beginning of the race. So I think that has hobbled his pace slightly, I think. And indeed, I think that he's setting some not super fast lap times right now, shall we say, as he's got the AM class driver just 0.6 of a second behind him. Let's compare what they do here. 22.8 for Vincent Squibber, 23.0 for Kit Blair. So potentially they are they're matched on pace as it stands. We can actually bring up our time delta here, and you can see that Kit Blair and Vincent Squibb, they've stayed within about a second and a half and kind of fluctuated the gap back and forth from lap 5 to lap 12 onwards. And that's not going to help at all. Kit Blair in the wall, and he's taken his front nose off. Well, everyone we watched today, Zach, seems to be going into the wall, and that has not gone well for the Porsche driver at all. I think maybe another case of a bit too much adhesion. A bit too much ambition in front of adhesion for him there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a corner where you're going uphill as well. So just like that, you overdrive it and you get into the grass and you're already light on the tires. It can just, you got to make sure you're carrying the right amount of speed into there, and that's just painful.
Yeah, and he's watching his relative very well, making a safe rejoin, but he just sits for what feels like forever. And we can see that I think it was just a bit too much power. He caught the curb. I think he was just pushing to catch Vincent Squibb in front of him a bit too hard, and that's ripped the front end off of that. And that is not going to be fun to drive. He's down 12 positions as it stands.
Makes you wonder what's worse, the accident or sitting afterwards watching all the cars drive by so you can rejoin.
I can tell you...
I know for me it's watching the cars go by.
I was going to tell you for absolute certain, for me it is the seconds afterwards where you realise what you've done, and you just kind of have to sit there and wait for a few seconds, and you want to go. You want to go right back on the track and getting it all back again, but that's just going to result in a collision.
Yep. So you're sitting there, you're waiting. It's worse when you're in a team event and you've got people on the microphone in the team, and you're like, well, I've done this.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. And someone well versed with team events is going to be JT Sawyer right now. He's leading Nick Djokovic here. It's a pro versus an AM driver here, so I'm not expecting the longest fight in the world, but for now, JT's defending. He's not just letting him pass, and 0.2 of a second is the gap between him. That actually makes JT Sawyer is the lead AM class driver after that accident for Kip there, but up the inside, I think he's going to have to maybe say goodbye to Akos there in the 78 machine, as he is very much pushing forwards, trying to catch his next target of Michael Rhodes, but he only has 10 minutes to catch 4.5 seconds.
And this is one of those tracks too, especially where you have the same class of car but different class of driver, where it can be hard for as a slower driver to get out of the way while also not losing too much time either, right? You know, because you don't want to just give up your entire race so they can go by and, you know, do whatever they're doing, but you also don't want to cause an accident because you're, you know, they're not expecting you to drive maybe as slow or as late into a corner as, you know, their class of drivers do.
Absolutely. And I see Kit Blair is in the pit lane. He's been there for quite a while now. There's only 10 minutes left of this race. We're going to invert the entire grid. So I wonder if he's just going to stay in the pit lane, take the P19, and end up on pole position for the next race.
You know, that's not a bad idea.
Indeed, he has already taken the pain of that crash, and I think by this point he's probably completed. I mean, we're maybe not. He does have to complete 75% of the laps of the leader to score points in this sprint race, and we're only just over a third in, so 66%. Not sure if he's done enough laps yet to qualify himself for scoring points in the sprint. So maybe he'll just take the 0, but I think he might want to head back out there, whether it's dead last or not, just to finish the race.
Yeah, I think you're right, especially on the sprint races. It's you know, it's definitely worth it to get back out there, to score a few points, you know, get something on the board. It's going to be a tough day if you come out here, you know, you spend the time racing and then you get nothing for it.
Absolutely. And, well, look at this. Harrison Brinker, after the opening couple of lap spin, he is right on the back of Eric here with 8 minutes to go in this race. 0.4 of a second is the gap. And I'm sure if we look at it here, you can see how Harrison has brought that gap down. And I think this is going to be one of the most interesting battles to watch towards the end of this sprint race here. You can just see, if I put it the right way around, there you are, Harrison Brinker a second faster, 8 tenths faster, 5 tenths faster. That is a man on a mission, I think.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, and I know he's got to be a little double angry with himself because he had caught up to him once, but then had a little incident in the sand, went and made a little sandcastle, and managed to come back and make up that same 2.5 seconds up again to get to where we are now. So I know he's definitely on a to make a point that he can do this without making a mistake.
Absolutely, and looking at the sector times comparisons, he is certainly making his way to the very, very back of that Porsche, but Eric is not going to want to give up a sprint race victory for absolutely nothing, and he's got a very, very slight advantage in that final sector of the lap, sector number 6, and actually across the first sector of this lap as well. And look at that, Harrison in the McLaren pushing him round the hairpin. There's just so few places for you to make a move on this track that maybe past the Pro-Am drivers he's had an easy time, but I don't think he's going to have such an easy time as maybe gaining a second of the lap makes us think it is, because there has been a very tiny gain from Eric on this lap, only 3/100ths of a second, but Harrison, even if he's setting lap times a second a lap faster, hasn't been able to get past yet, and there's just over 5 minutes to go.
And that's the hard part of this track, with it being as tight as it is. You know, you can be faster when you're separated, but when you get close and you start driving, if you got a great defender in front of you, it can be almost impossible to get a nose in or get side by side on a track like this.
Absolutely, and it's maybe a little bit of forcing a mistake as well, as he is looking around the outside. It looks like maybe the McLaren is best in that latter half of the lap, but the Porsche is able to pull away very slightly on the straight. Round the outside looks Harrison, but there's nowhere to go. Eric parked up on the inside there. He's not letting anyone through. He's going to have to go defensive as we head up into the hairpin. He's going to have to make Harrison go the long way round. We saw a great pass from him here already, but it looks like a little bit of contact potentially there, and I think Harrison might have let Eric back through because I think they came together slightly, Harrison pushing Eric, but it looks like they resolved it all by themselves.
Yeah, sometimes when you're racing that close, it could get a little bumping and rubbing, but, you know, a little aggressive racing isn't bad. You know, they're smart about it. They're good racers enough to give those positions back and make sure the racing that they're doing is as clean as possible, right?
Absolutely. Not really the way that you'd want to win a race, especially one where they've been so close together, is by punting the other driver out the way. We've seen Akos into the pits. Not exactly sure what happened to him. I've not seen him have an accident, but he might have picked up a little bit of damage from somewhere that he just wanted to get repaired towards the end of this race. Maybe set himself up a little bit better for that feature race. 4 minutes to go in this race at the moment, and it is still Eric who leads, and Harrison was looking up the inside, but Eric very quick to close it off. Is this the moment though? Because he looks around the outside, does Harrison Brinker, but once again Porsche parked on the inside. Is Harrison going to look up the inside here? Yes he is, and I think he was too late for Eric to defend, otherwise he would have been blocking, and up the inside it's happened. Harrison Brinker up into P1 once again. And I tell you what I think might be happening, Zach, because we've seen a few cars into the pit lane. I think some people might need some fuel.
I think you're absolutely right. I think if you're able to fuel save, you're able to get enough to get to the finish. But if you were just pushing all the way through, then I believe you are going to have to stop for like 2 or 3 laps.
Absolutely. We can see Gabonagi Bayer, Sean Ferreira, Rudd School, James Vernon started from the pit lane, so I'm not sure if that stop is actually a pit stop. And quite a few drivers have been in the pit lane and they needed the fuel.
Yeah, the pit stops were about 4 seconds on either side, so again, just enough for maybe 4 laps of fuel.
Oh, Eric Gerpard, he's in the pit lane.
Eric Gerpard has to go in.
And Carsten Walter in the pit lane as well. 2 of our leading drivers out there, they've had to head into the pit lane. Matthew Cheverton's obviously been able to save some fuel because he is up into P2. And what an interesting conclusion we've got to the end of this race. We had some people saying that you didn't need to go fueling, but some have had to take that very short stop in the pit lane. And, well, I can see maybe that Eric was hoping the race would be 1 lap less because he has now dropped down to P5.
Yeah, and that can be the tough part too, is just, you know, trying to know, you know, when you can push, when you can, and how much fuel you really need to be hitting. Especially when you're racing for positions, as the front car, it can be much harder to save fuel than it is for the back car, who's kind of just following along and waiting for that hole to appear.
Indeed, that is very interesting indeed. I wonder if we'll see, because I'm not completely sure where is Harrison Brinker on the lap right now, but whether he will need fuel, because that will give Matthew Cheverton the race victory, surely, if he doesn't need fuel, and Jake Pitt in second place. Let's see. I don't think he'll get the white flag this time round. I think that there's going to be another lap, and that might upset some fuel strategies. It's such a quick lap here that, well, they've ended up on lap 22. It's just ticked over, so Harrison ending up in across the line. You see his lap time pop out. As Jake Pitt, he needs to head into the pit lane for some fuel as well. Very tight at the end, and they haven't been able to save enough, all of them out there. But it looks like to me, Matthew Cheverton, Nicholas Ferreira, and Harrison Brinker at the front all haven't needed to head into the pit lane.
And that's where strategy can come into play in a race. Like I said, a lot of times it's not about speed in some of these races. It's about, you know, consistency, fuel saving, and a culmination of a lot of different strategies and skills that come together, you know, and that can win you races. And if you're able to get all 3 of those and have speed, then
JT Sawyer's in the pits as well. JT
I
Sawyer
saw that.
into the pit lane. He's going to drop from the lead of his class. He's P3 in class right now. He's still in the pit lane and hasn't finished his stop yet. I think he might be safe from David Michael Saris. He'll still be on the podium of his class, but I don't think that it's going to be a victory for him, as we must certainly be heading, and there's the checkered flag now for Harrison Brinker. You can see that's Garcia who's finished. That's Harrison Brinker, who, despite a spin, has won the sprint race today. He didn't need to stop for any sort of fuel. Matthew Cheverton, he comes across the line in P2. David Michael Saro finishes the race. It's going to be Nicholas Ferreira who ends up in P3. JT Sawyer is finished now, disappointing for him, in 17th place. Eric Gerhard makes up P4. It's going to be Gabon Aguibea who makes up P number 5. Brandon Vincent Squibb coming in behind him with a bit of damage on the front of his car in 6th position. Then we can see Jake Pitt and Carsten Walter in behind. Then it's going to be Michael Rhodes and Sean Ferreira across the line. Nick Djokovic and Rudd School very close together at the end, but they cross the line. And James Vernon becomes your AM class winner today. I think JT Sawyer had it in the bag until he needed to pit. And a very interesting end to that race, because that sets us up, of course. We're an hour and 30 minutes for a feature race. That means some of those drivers have to think about whether they're going to have to splash and dash at the end, because they won't be able to do 2 full pit stops. We're going to see whether that changes their mindset heading into the feature race.
I think it definitely will. And I think part of it, too, will come down to, that's 30 minutes of track knowledge and racing on this track if you had none. So I think for a lot of these drivers, they may naturally save more fuel just because of the, having that track knowledge and being able to brake more properly, throttle more properly. They might even be able to save themselves an extra lap just, doing that over the full stint. We'll have to find out and see.
Indeed. Well, let's have a little look then at the class finishing positions we had there for that sprint race. So it's going to be Harrison Brinker who won your pro class sprint, and it's going to be Matthew Cheverton who is 8 seconds behind. Nicholas Ferreira P3, Eric Gerhard P4, Jake Pitt P5, Nick Djokovic P6, and Rudd School P7. In the Pro-Am class, you are going to be looking at Gabon Aguibea, who takes the victory. Brandon Vincent Squibb, Carsten Walter, Michael Rhodes, Sean Ferreira, and Akos Fugger in behind. And then, unfortunate for JT Sawyer, who needed that refuel in the middle of the race, so it's going to be James Vernon who takes the AM class race victory. Andy Keane, David Michael Sarah, JT Sawyer, Garcia, and Kit Blair in behind him. And that is going to be a very interesting, because that AM class championship very close at the front. It's going to be interesting to see what exactly that turns out with. Let's just have a whole screen there of the results that you saw during that race. I'm just looking down here. Everyone seems to have sorted themselves out after what might have been a mixed up qualifying. Is that we're pretty much pro AMPAC, and they managed to sort themselves out despite it being pretty hard to pass around here.
Yeah, it looks like it. Either, driver is able to pass correctly. We also had some incidents and some spins as well, which probably kind of helped sort some of that pack out. But overall, for this being a track that I think a lot of these drivers are really seeing as a race for the first time, I think that was a really great race, and I think everyone did a good job.
Indeed. Now, we do have a 5-minute warm-up here. Time for our drivers to maybe head to the bathroom and refresh their minds and their bodies before they get away, because there isn't a single car who is out there on the track right now. Everyone's having a little snooze back in their garage, it does seem. And don't go anywhere, of course, because coming up now, we do have the feature race, which is an hour and a half long. It inverts the top 20 positions of the race. Because we only have 19 drivers out there on track today, that means that our entire grid is going to be reversed to head out there. And I think that's going to be interesting, especially for the likes of Harrison Brinker, who won the last race. He's starting at the very back and is going to have to make his way past every single driver on the grid if he wants to win another race. It's also going to be an experience, I think, for some of us drivers who are used to being at the back of the pack. And when we earlier had in this season at Watkins Glen, more popular tracks, we had about 30 drivers on the grid. They may have stayed at the back, but now they have to get used to being at the front and leading the race and having some very fast drivers coming up behind them.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. It's gonna be interesting.
Absolutely, and indeed. Okay, I heard an engine running for just a brief moment out there, and then I don't think anybody decided to head out on track. And unfortunately, because we've moved to a different race session, I don't have the information to go back and have a look at some of those crashes and smashes out there on the track. But luckily, we only have a minute now until everybody has to get their car on the grid. A very short countdown prior to the race start when you have a warm-up. I think it might just be 60 seconds or so. We've got some very excited fans at the side of the racetrack there who are hoping to see potentially another spinner out of turn 1 into the into the first fast section of the track. They got a good view last time. I think there were quite a few cars who had to skip across the gravel to avoid that spun car. But very, very good of all of them, really. None of them made contact of their own volition into a spun car. It's going to be very difficult at the start because you have 5 cars in front of you who will be blocking the view of what's happening. And I think I waffled for long enough for that to be the end of our warm-up session. Checkered flag is out. Not that anybody needs it out there, because none of our drivers headed out onto the track. None of them felt like they needed the practice.
Yeah, for most of these drivers, it's probably just going to be recalibrating, taking a deep breath, and making sure you're ready to do, this same track for an hour and a half, which is definitely asking a lot more than just, 30 minutes of racing. So we'll see how these guys do over the long run.
Absolutely agree with you there, Zach. I can hear some engines starting up right now, and let's see if we can't get a focus. There we are. JT Sawyer, who is the lead driver on the grid right now, and you can see everybody popping in. They don't have a massive amount of time to get themselves onto the grid. Most important thing to check when you're transferring here normally is making sure you've got the right setup on. Of course, not really a problem for these drivers because they're probably on full fuel for the start of the sprint race anyway, but still important to check. Waiting for our final drivers to get on the grid, just waiting for James Vernon and Nick Djokovic here. They might choose to start from the pit lane, potentially to not get involved in some of that first lap drama. As the lights come on now, it's going to be a formation lap for our feature race, and indeed it does look like James Vernon and Nick Djokovic are going to start from the pit lane. P18 and P19 overall. Maybe they're anticipating a little bit more drama as we make our way off on the formation lap. And there you have it, your race 1 winner of Harrison Brinker making his way off the line. I can see Djokovic there. He is sat in his Porsche in the pit lane, waiting to be released. Well, I was going to show you our starting grid there, but it looks like that we don't have one available from iRacing at this point in time. So just put your mind back to the result of the sprint race, flip it around, and that is where everyone is going to be starting. Now, Zach, if you are Kit Blair, Garcia, or JT Sawyer, who is at the front of this pack, how are you going to play this race? Are you going to try and battle your fellow AM class drivers and let through any pro or pro-ams who are faster behind you, or are you going to try and score those overall points and, well, defend for every position that you can?
I've been in a situation like this before, and for me, I think it's more about safety than anything, right? I'm going to race the people that I know I'm quicker than, but if I see someone coming up that has been running maybe a second plus quicker than I am, I'm definitely going to do my best to stay out of their way and try not to put myself in a position where I may lose all the points versus maybe just a few.
Well, let's see what our drivers choose. I'll focus on Kit Blair, who is going to be your pole position driver as we wait for the 5 red lights. And it's green flag here once again at Brands Hatch. They're all fanning out, and Kit Blair does keep the lead into the opening corner, but it looks like JT Sawyer is up to second place. Are they all going to make it through cleanly here? It sure looks like it at the moment. Everybody, it seems like they've made it through nice and cleanly through the opening section of this lap. Couple of cars going wide off track, but no one looking like they have any resulting damage. It is Kit Blair, and he is absolutely gone as we head in to the opening of this race. It's JT Sawyer who is up to P2. He's made up a position off the start. Garcia's lost 2. Michael Rhodes, great start for him. He's up 6 positions.
He had a rocket of a start when that green flag dropped.
Absolutely. Let's see what's happening with Matthew Cheverton here. He's looking up the inside of Eric. And of course, here's the thing you have with these reverse grids, is that you can't go anywhere because you've got some slower drivers who are racing in front of you. Matthew Cheverton trying as he might to get up the inside of Eric here, and he is on the inside where he's taken the curb. I think Eric might have gone off the track because he's lost a position to Harrison Brinker, but he's got it straight back again there. And let's see what's happened there side by side. Once again, Eric and Matthew are here. Eric is ahead. It's too wide at the back. The last of our drivers who didn't start in the pit lane. But I think from here, they are staying pretty safe and pretty clean. Kit Blair setting your fastest lap of the race. That's because he is still in the lead. 1.6 seconds the gap to JT Sawyer. Michael Rhodes up 7 now into 4th position. Oh, and contact there. I think that might be Eric with Andy Keane. Andy Keane's facing the wrong way. He's got a car coming at him, and Eric's off the road once again. Sounded like a bit more contact for him. He's spinning sideways. Doesn't look like a lot of damage for him, but he's going to have to be back on the road. And that has not gone well for him. We're seeing a lot of moving around, a lot of cars off the track in front. I think that Rudd School might have been for a collision. Let's go and have a little look at what happened to him. Oh no, it's going kind of 3 wide. Oh, I think the contact didn't result in anything bad. Oh no. You don't want to see that. I think there was quite a lot of damage to one of those cars in there, but I think it was just the result of Rudd here, who had already lost it at that stage and no one had anywhere to go. And that has resulted in David, Michael Serra and Rudd Skull. They're in the pit lane right now. They're going to have to use their tow and their fast repair, but an hour and a half race. So I think that they've got some time to get their car repaired and head back out there. Nicholas Ferreira is in the pit lane. He got caught up in some sort of incident as well there. And they have a long way back towards the front of the pack.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It can be hard because, you know, there wasn't any real contact. It looks like he kind of just lost it, spun, and when you're on the exit of that corner, especially, you know, just a couple laps in, everyone's still pretty grouped up. It can be really hard as that car behind to get that whole big machine slowed down before you hit that other car. Absolutely.
And it's a blind entry as well. So I think it's very difficult to anticipate where that car might be. Kind of, are they on the inside, on the outside? You can't just sit there forever. You'll get passed by everyone. Looks like Brandon Vincent Squibb has been off of the track as well. What happened to him? Oh, he's just gone for a spin all by himself. That corner catching a lot of people out today at that acceleration up the hill. It's absolutely crucial for your lap time, and it looks like it's crucial to not get wrong, because you're going to lose 10, 15 seconds off of the back of the car in front.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's one of those things too, where you're coming out of the corner and then you're hitting that uphill, so it kind of compresses the whole car down. So then while you're on that throttle, you've got a lot of traction, and then as you get on the throttle, you kind of lose some of that. And so I'm wondering if maybe that's what's causing some of these cars to spin coming up that hill.
Yeah, I think you might be right there, Zach, as we're seeing Nick Djokovic and Eric Gerbhard here. They are our Pro Class drivers in P13 and P14 right now, of course, starting towards the back of the pack. They're close together, but they're not really fighting each other. I think they want to catch up to the AM Class driver of James Vernon in front of them.
Yeah, you know, I think as the pro driver starting in back, if you guys are pretty similar in time, you know, the best thing might be is just to, you know, work together, save fuel, get yourselves through the pack, you know, as a couple, and then save that racing for once you're back up in front.
Really, as we saw in the sprint race, if you think you might be a little bit tight on fuel, the time is now to save a little bit in behind that other car. And maybe miss having to do that splash and dash at the end.
Exactly. And this isn't a particularly long track, so saving, you know, an extra lap of fuel isn't as big of a task here as it is on some other tracks.
Absolutely. We're seeing Kit Blair. He's just set the fastest lap of the race out there in P1. He's made a mammoth gap, 4.5 seconds right now to JT Sawyer. He is absolutely enjoying this Brands Hatch circuit at the moment, and is absolutely doing whatever he wants out there, coming up to 5 seconds now after as many laps.
You know, the track does have some good flow to it. I imagine if you can get yourself out into some clean air where you're not really, you know, having to worry about cars behind or in front of you, it's probably a nice drive.
A nice Sunday drive for some out there. It seems Harrison Brinker, who we're watching on our screen right now, is right tucked up behind Matthew Cheverton, P9 and 10 respectively. I think he can see a few of those drivers getting away in front of him, and kind of wants to catch up to them as quickly as possible. I saw Garcia off track there. I think he might just have gone a little bit wide rather than having any sort of accident, and there is a pack right in front of them here who are having a little battle. We're on board with Gabor Nagy-Beyer, looking up the inside of Garcia here, trying not to make contact. They make a little bit of a door bang, and it's going to be Nagy-Beyer who's up and now chasing down the pro class driver of Jake Pitt, I believe, in front of him. And Matthew Cheverton looks like he got past Garcia as well, and I think Harrison Brinker might be making his way past as we speak. He does indeed. Looks like a little bit of damage to the rear end of that Mercedes there. Yeah, on the left rear corner. Not exactly sure where he picked that up. Maybe just a little bit of a bonk as you go along. But they have made themselves up a position each in this race. And surely seeing that damage of that Mercedes in front is going to think, if you're Harrison right now, you don't want to stay behind him for too long, because he's probably going to be losing a little bit of time from that little bonk on the rear end.
You can definitely tell in this race after the sprint, it looks like everyone kind of got some pretty good knowledge of the track, figured out for the most part where they need to be, and it definitely seems like this is a much safer start than the sprint that we had, which is good to see.
there looks to be a little bit more calm in some of these drivers as it stands right now. I can see it. There's less off tracks. There's less spins. There's less kind of banging of wheels and doors. And you can see it here as Matthew Cheverton is up the back of Gabor Nagy-Beyer here, and certainly it's going to be interesting as up the inside goes Harrison Brinker. Looks almost like Matthew let him pass there. Maybe he's going to try and use him a little bit to try and get past these two drivers in front of him.
Yeah, and that could be the smarter idea. If you know the guy behind you is a little bit faster, let him in front, let him pull you along, you know, and maybe give him a chance to make those holes and get you guys through to the front. You can definitely see some teamwork happening there.
Indeed, I think I can see the exact moment that Matthew let off the throttle there and just let him through, especially he's got a little bit of damage as well. He also had to pit in the sprint race. So indeed, a little bit of fuel saving, a little bit of using his pace along the way. We've got a close little pack here. It looks like we have Michael Rhodes, who is right on the back of Akos Varga here, both Pro-Am class drivers, currently competing for the Pro-Am class lead as it stands. They've got Sean Ferreira 3.2 seconds behind them. Have a little look at how that gap has evolved between them, and it looks like maybe the 78 car driver made a little bit of a mistake at some point, because yeah, on lap 7 there, Michael Rhodes was able to gain quite a lot of time, but also they're now tucked in behind JT Sawyer, and well, I think we all know JT's view on Michael Rhodes for Pro-Am, and I wonder if he's going to fight his former his former AM class rival here, as they've compressed together as a little bit of a train, competing over second position overall here.
Yeah, I think the roads for Pro-Am was quite the... Oh, it looks like Akos Varga went off there.
Indeed. Let's have a little look at that. I think he might have just carried a bit too much speed in, and he did, off into the gravel trap. Very easy to do. And, well, that is going to put a pin in that particular battle. Does he rejoin the track safely? I'd say so. But he has put a lot of gravel on the outside there that some of those drivers behind, all very close, might not be expecting.
Yeah, definitely good rejoin. Got himself back on the track. Great ability to not hit into the wall there. It can be really hard, especially once you hit that gravel, to get the car slowed down and, one, not spin, and two, not hit those safety barriers and, you know, maybe knock a rear end or a wing off, which can lose you even more time than just going off the track.
Very easy to do as Jake Pitt up the inside on Akos here. Is he going to make it stick? No, he loses a boatload. Sorry, we're watching Jake Pitt. Somebody else in the background there losing a boatload of positions. Jake Pitt is, I think he's formed a little bit of a truly train here with Gabor Nagy-Beyer, slowing up because we've got Harrison Brinker and Matthew Cheverton all close together in this battle. Indeed, as you're seeing, it's battle for 5th place. We've got Matthew Cheverton trying to get past Akos Varga in the background, I think that was, and a little bit of moving down the straight there, trying to make a way past. And this might be the section of the race where it becomes so tricky for those faster drivers, because no longer are they trying to get past AM class drivers who might be a couple of seconds off the pace, no disrespect to them at all, but now they're against people who might be half a second off their pace, and I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to get past.
I think you're 100% right. It's also, you know, more difficult for them to, you know, predict what's going to happen in front of them as well. You don't really know the person in front of you's braking point. It may be earlier due to experience and a lot of other situations like that. So, you know, when you can get past some of the drivers that may be newer, maybe don't make quite as brave decisions as you do as a higher class driver, it definitely takes some of that stress off your shoulders.
Well, it's gone from bad to worse for Akos after he went off the track at turn 1. because he's lost the position to Matthew Cheverton, now lost the position to Carson Walter as well. He is down to 10th position overall right now. I'm sure he would have wanted a little bit of a better lap than that, because he's gone from, well, what was potentially P3 overall down to P10.
Yeah, not quite what you want and what you're looking for in the opening of this race, but there's still quite a long time to go. So enough time for him to make those positions back and get himself caught back up there if he can get himself together.
Absolutely. I think Michael Rhodes might have made a mistake because he's dropped all the way down. I can see him on the side of the track there. He was fighting. He was coming up to JT Sawyer. He's down into 10th place, 11th place now. Let's see what's happened to him. And, well, that's a bit too far back, but there looks like there might be a bit of damage. He's following JT Sawyer. He's out wide. He's out too wide. And, ooh, that is quite fast to go front on in that McLaren. He's spinning up the wheels to try and get back on track. But once again, we've seen another incident where I think the drivers have gone a bit wide, gone with a bit too much power, and they have paid a very high price for it.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have some body damage on that, but it looks like maybe he hit it straight enough that he won't have any wheel or suspension damage, which is where a lot of the repair time can come in. So maybe he can save his fast repair, you know, just in case, and get some of that body repair damage done in the pit stop.
Absolutely. You can get reasonably lucky here if you go straight into a barrier. It's generally nowhere near as bad as kind of spinning sideways into one, because you won't get that wheel damage. Rudd Skall here, I think he's a lap down on these cars in front of him, but it's not stopping him sticking his nose in and having a little look, in front of them. I think this is Nick Shokovic who's currently in front of him. We can go and confirm that as soon as I've found the right button I need to press. Somewhere in here, I'm absolutely certain. Here it is. There we are. And yeah, we can see Rudd Skall, who is on pace with P10 and P11 in front, but of course he's a lap down, and he's certainly not fighting them for position. But he is more than entitled to make his way past them if he's faster and can do it without disrupting their race. And David Michael Sorrow is in the pit lane. And I think Michael Rhodes might have had another off-track excursion, but not as bad as his initial one, as it makes Sean Ferreira the current AM class leader. Currently watching Jake Pitt, who's the pro class leader, starting a bit of a truly train here. And up the inside goes Jake Pitt, and a spinner in the background. It's Harrison Brinker. He's done it at the same position again, Zach.
Oh, man.
Let's, well, I think if I display it on screen, I think you're going to see that it was the same incident as before, and I think he'll be kicking himself because he's down to P10 once again, and fallen backwards in this race. I guess luckily for him, he's got another hour and 10 minutes in order to try and get back towards the lead.
Yeah, he's got the time left, but I know he's going to be kicking himself for making that mistake and having that little spin there.
Absolutely. I think he will be certainly beating himself up about it in his head, of course, and Sean Ferreira is leading this train here in the battle for P3 overall. Both great gains here, up 7, up 9, and up 10, and they got JT Sawyer about 2.5 seconds in front, who will be, I think, hoping that these guys form a little bit of a battle here so that he can pull away. Someone has pulled away. Kit Blair's lead currently stands at 11 seconds. I think there's something to look at here for this AM class driver if he's able to keep this performance up over the next couple of rounds.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. He's looking quite good out there for Especially over the last couple rounds.
I'm sure that JT will be one of those campaigning, as he'd be the lead AM class driver right now if it wasn't for Kip out there.
Yeah, I think after this race, he may start making signs.
Absolutely. Well, it wasn't a result of, but he was definitely a big proponent of Mike Rhodes for Pro-Am, and well, you see what happened there. So maybe he's got an eye for it in terms of picking out those drivers who are not in shouldn't be in his class, or maybe he just wants no drivers in front of him.
Either way, it's a strategy.
Absolutely. There's a little bit of stringing out for this battle for third place overall. Andy Keane very briefly off the track there, but it is Jake Pitt in that Lamborghini who's in behind the Mercedes right now. Sean Ferreira, they're battling for third position, and we've got about 10 minutes until maybe our first round of pit stops. It'll be important for everyone to keep their eye on just exactly who has to pit before that half-an-hour mark. Because if you do, there's a very good chance that you're going to end up having to have a splash and dash at the end of this race.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the most important thing to me in my mind over, speed or anything like that. Just going to be making sure I can hit those 30-minute marks on those pit stops. The last thing you want is, like in the sprint race, you're 2 laps from the end and you got to pull into the pit because, you're just a few liters too short to win the race.
It depends a little bit as well when that leader hits the start-finish line, of course, and whether you're going to have that extra lap. And I think that did catch some of our drivers out in the sprint race, that it went just 1 extra lap before that white flag came out, and they hadn't factored that into their fuel saving. And indeed, you're not really going to find that out until the very end of the race, because if it's Kip Blair who's still leading at the end, well, he'll be very happy with that. You've got a different strategy compared to if it's a pro driver, or potentially Matthew Cheverton or Nick Djokovic, who's just made his way up to P number 8. Let's have a little look at Harrison Brinker here. Unfortunate for him, he'd made up a good few places and then went for a spin at the same place he did in the sprint race. He's currently behind Akos Varga here in the 78 machine, and will be wanting to push his way back towards the front of this pack. Next in front of him in that white coloured Porsche is going to be Nick Djokovic, another pro class driver, but it is Kip Blair who continues to set the pace out front right now. Some of these pro class drivers have slower fastest laps than Kip, but I think that's mainly because they've just been stuck in traffic the entire race.
Yeah, it's hard to be in those 121s, especially when you're racing other drivers and also trying to take those defensive lines. I think traffic and everything is definitely going to be playing a point in these lap times as well. Indeed.
Let's have a look at the fastest laps so far. Kip Blair, fastest lap is 6/10 faster than JT Sawyer. It's 3/10 faster than the pro class driver of Jake Pitt. And yeah, you look as Akos Varga off into the grass there. I think maybe he thought that was the easiest way to let those two battling drivers past. Or potentially he has a problem because he's off the track once again. Have a little look at what happened to him. I don't think he got punted. I think he just kind of... he slowed down. And I think he might have some sort of equipment problem or something there, because he just kind of slowed down in the middle of the straight. Picked up a bit of damage from Harrison there. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he's still on the road. He's letting his teammate pass. Maybe he's got some potential issue with his PC or his wheel or something similar. I'm not so sure.
He does have a... It looks like he has a black flag on my screen.
Indeed, I can see he's got a black flag here as well. I wonder if he had a slowdown and he hadn't served it correctly. As he heads into the pit lane, I wonder if he'd slowed down to try and serve the slowdown. He slowed down on the racing line, so I wouldn't call that the best way to serve it. And got hit and then didn't serve it correctly, because I'd be very surprised 25 minutes in that he's hit the 21 incident point limit.
Yeah, he just hits the brakes there.
Yeah, I think the stewards might want to have a review of that one, because that was not the right way to serve a slowdown. He should have pulled off of the racing line, but we'll let that continue in the stewards room, and he's taken a bit of a penalty already because he's down in P16 overall and 46 seconds off the lead. And once again, it looks like this battle for P3 is where everybody is on the track right now. Jake Pitt is currently leading the way, and you can see JT Sawyer actually just in front of them as well. As let's just flick over to the interval here, and you can see Jake Pitt is right up the side of JT Sawyer here. Is he going to finally end the Americans' dream of being in P2? No, not on this occasion. JT very careful about how he has to manage this traffic here, because, well, within a big group behind him, he could end up P6 overall by the end of it.
Yeah, that can be the hard part too. You know, even if you want to, you know, maybe give up one position to a faster driver, you don't want to give up 5 positions because everyone after him, you know, followed the train.
Absolutely, and I think maybe the battle behind him is raging on, because we've got Nagy Bayer here, who is going around what's going to be the outside of Sean Ferreira, and then Matthew Cheverton's in behind them as well, and round the outside goes Nagy Bayer to take the position from Sean Ferreira. Has a little bit of a wiggle, but he keeps the position on this occasion, and he is in P4. He's separated this little pack, but he has dispatched of Sean Ferreira on this occasion. But, I thought he was going to send a move up the inside there. But now Sean Ferreira has Matthew Cheverton on his rear end he has to worry about. It's Mercedes on Mercedes, so there's no car difference, but Matthew Cheverton into the pit lane. He's not one who's going to have made the half-an-hour mark, but it could be tactical in order to get out of that battle and try the overcut, because now is when the pit strategy is really going to come into play, I think.
Yeah, it's lap 19, so that was when people started pitting in the sprint race. So it could be strategy. He could have just not saved enough to get to that 2021 mark. You know, we'll have to see as the race comes to the end.
Round the outside goes Jake Pitt on JT Sawyer, and up the inside is Gabor Nagy Bayer. We said it might happen. JT has gone backwards quite quickly here. He is an AM-class driver, and I think he's done very well to keep those faster drivers behind him, because now he has Sean Ferreira on his back, and even further back it's going to be Carsten Walter. And now you really do have to think, do I make it to that half-hour mark? Do I come in early to try a little bit of an overcut here? Because the traffic on such a thin track is going to really hold you up. Now we can bring up the track map here. Matthew Cheverton in P16, you can see him just heading down the second straight. He's in completely clean air right now, which means that he is able to make up probably tons of time on some of these cars as JT Sawyer heads into the pit lane, Sean Ferreira heads in, but Nick Djokovic carries on for another lap out there. And we got loads of cars into the pit lane. We got Brandon Vincent Squibb who's coming in as well, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more who are going to be heading in within the next lap or so. We do know somebody here, though, who did make it the whole sprint race without pitting. That is going to be Harrison Brinker. He has 5 seconds clear in front of him right now. So this is his real time to try and push and make up some of those positions without having to pass anyone on track.
Looks like maybe he has a little bit of damage on his front right side, but nothing too much. So maybe just a little bit of aero damage, bringing that top speed down, but it shouldn't be affecting his driving too much at all. And his times are looking pretty good. They're coming down as he gets some of that clean air.
Indeed. Let's see what happens in this battle here. As you can see, no one is hit so far. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong button there. No one of this top 5 yet to pit. It's going to be very interesting to see who comes into the pit lane right now. It's going to be Kit Blair, it's going to be Gabor Nagibeya, and I think that might be the whole of the top 5 who comes in. No, Nick Djokovic, he is going to make his way through up to P1 overall, and he's going to have a very nice clean track in front of him because he is leading the race. Let's see what exactly happens to some of these drivers with their pit lane time. Focusing on that 3rd place. So Ferreira came in very early, and Pit Blair is on the track, but we don't have a pit lane time from yet. We'll go and have a little look back at that graphic in just a moment. Michael Rhodes and Eric Gerbhard are into the pit lane as well, just swapping over positions as one's in their pit box and one's in the pit exit. And you can see how the pit lane has changed this battle by quite a bit, because it's Matthew Cheverton on the back of Jake Pitt, and Gabor Nagibeya is right off the back of them, 2 seconds back. He's managed to kind of essentially push them out of the battle there and make it a pro-on-pro battle without anyone in the middle. Very interesting indeed. Harrison Brinker, he's just got past the half-an-hour mark. He's into the pit lane, but Nick Djokovic is staying out, having a very good time there, I think. He will
be the only car, as far as I can tell, that will be doing a 22 lap stint.
Indeed. Well, everyone, I can see Nick. Oh, he started from the pit lane. That is why. And he didn't have to do as there's a big off there. I'm not sure who that is. I think that might be Garcia who's off. That's a very bizarre crash. It looks like someone turned the traction control off. It just kind of went with very little warning. I want to see that on board, because it looks like, yeah, someone just flicked a switch and that turned the traction control off, and round he went. Very strange indeed for Garcia there, heading backwards into the gravel.
Very interesting, yeah.
Very strange indeed. As we can see, everyone has made a stop, but yeah, Nick Djokovic, as I was saying, he started from the pit lane, so he didn't have to do that formation lap, which means he will have an extra half a lap of fuel or so, and he's into the pit lane now, and that's done very well for him indeed.
Yeah, you know, sometimes on these shorter tracks, like we were talking about before, you don't need to save a lot to get an extra lap, so when you're saving that half lap on the warm-up, it's not much extra to get to that extra lap of everybody else.
And now it's Nicolas Ferreira who takes the lead, but he came in on lap 2 of this race, so he's going to have to make another pit stop. But it might not be super punishing as you might think, because he's of course past that half-an-hour mark, and some of these guys, it's looking like they're going to have to make a splash and dash at the end of the race, as out comes Nick, out into P5. I tell you what, that's not terrible from starting from the pit lane.
Yeah, it seems like while doing all that fuel saving, he was also able to, you know, work his way up through the field and get a couple positions back. So he's gained a lot and lost almost nothing.
Absolutely. Agree with you there, Zach. And indeed, let's see what happens out there on the track, as it is Kit Blair who is your provisional race leader. He's 15 seconds in front of Jake Pitt, who is your lead pro driver. I see. No, I think that's Mike Rhodes is still off the track. What has happened to him? He's gone for a spin at that famous corner, made famous by Harrison, I think, and that's his second accident in this race. I have a feeling that he might have used his fast repair already from that earlier incident. We can see if we look off board, if the camera will flick round, you can, I think, yeah, his front end still had a little bit of damage to it. I don't think he did use his fast repair, but now it's looking like it might have been hit by a truck going the wrong way. There's a woeful race there for Michael Rhodes. Well, Harrison Brinker here. He is on the back of Carsten Walter at this point in time. He's in 7th place overall right now, as Rod Skoll, I think, who is the last of our drivers who needed to come into the pit lane, unfortunately in 18th place for him. A lot of work to do in the remaining hour of this race if he wants to score big points in the pro class.
It's like Harrison was able to get that damage repaired in the pit, so he's back out in a clean car, and we'll see if he's able to do anything with this stint and make up any of those positions.
Using the power of that fast repair, very, very useful indeed. I can attest to it in a few leagues that I've been in, when you can come into the pit stop and finally you come out of the pit lane, you're like, oh, the car feels fresh and new again, like it rolled out of the factory. It is a great feeling. I think it gives you a little bit of extra pace as well, as looking to use some of that extra pace around the outside of Walter here, who I think might have just let off the gas a little bit to let him through, as I don't think he thinks Harrison is his fight today.
Yeah, I think one of the worst feelings there is, especially in this sim, is when you get your fast repair done, you come out, and then you immediately get damage that was worse than what you had just quick repaired.
I've got maybe one story to make it even worse than that, is that during a Spa 24-hour, we went for the midday split, and in the first 3 laps, we ended up with 5 minutes worth of damage. So we decided, you know what, we want to win. We'll go and do the 4 p.m. split. 4 p.m. split, get to about lap 5 and end up with 10 minutes worth of damage. So it definitely can get worse than that.
Oh, that's a rough one.
It makes you think, can we go back in time and carry on that earlier race?
Yeah. Definitely not what you're looking for.
Absolutely not. And seems like we've seen a lot of Gabor Nagy-Beyer in this race. He's currently behind Nick Djokovic by 0.3 of a second, and looking like he's sticking with him at the moment. And looks like there has been a lot of swapping around of gaps. Of course, that big gap that you can see in there will be from the pits, but you can see at the very top of your display there that the gap has been coming down, and the Aston Martin performing quite nicely around here. Porsche's doing very well as well. Kind of expected that. It's a tight, twisty track that the Porsche is very good at. Lots of acceleration zones as well, even more points for the Porsche. But it's not stopping the charge of Nagy-Beyer in the Aston Martin. He's keeping the gap around half a second or so at this stage in the race. Not a personal best, actually, for Nagy-Beyer there. Just half a tenth faster than Nick on this particular lap. Harrison sets his fastest lap of the race as well. It's going to be at 21.8, still going very fast. Well, I'd say full fuel tanks, but as full as you can get at this stage in the races. Both of them go for a little off-track there, and I can see Andy Keane off the track, and he's into the pit lane as well. I saw Rudd might have had a collision as well. Let's see what happened to Andy Keane. He's off the road there, and he goes off the track. He's just kind of slowed it down and given up himself there. I wonder if he had some sort of problem, or whether he has not been enjoying this race so far. Rudd looks like he's had a crash as well. He has not had a very good race at all from someone who has performed very well in this series. And oh, it's going round, it's going round. Lucky to do quite a lot of saving of it there, but obviously not lucky to have the incident in the first place. But one of the less damaged turn 1 crashes I've seen around this track.
Definitely could be worse.
Absolutely could be worse. We're looking at Kip Blair here. I'm kind of intrigued to see a little bit how that gap is evolving over time to the car behind him of Jake Pitt, and it has been coming down. 16 seconds it was right after the pit stops. 13 seconds. 14 seconds or so, should I say, now. So Jake is making some inroads there, but that M-Class driver going very fast indeed. Interesting to see what happens, because I think once Jake Pitt catches up, the whole of that pro pack of Cheverton and Djokovic, Nagy Bayer and Harrison Brinker are going to be right on the back of him, and that might make a very exciting end to this race. Maybe one you don't particularly want if you're Kip Blair. You'd like your nice Sunday drive out in front to continue. Let's have a look what's happening with Michael Rhodes then. He has a very scrunched in front of that car. He's got Akos Varga in front of him, and Garcia, who is not behind him. That's a minute back. I think that might be Matthew Cheverton in the Vodafone McLaren, who's coming up to lap this particular pair. But not a good race for Michael Rhodes after someone who was leading that Pro-Am back by a reasonable margin. He's had 2 spins, and the front of that McLaren certainly tells you he has as well. I'm sure the campaign of Rhodes for AM-Class will be coming from one driver in particular. I think it might be Mike himself.
Too much pressure, it may be.
Indeed. Not sure he's really gaining or losing too much time. Harrison Brinker into the pit lane. That doesn't seem like a scheduled pit stop to me, Zach.
He has a black flag. I'm not sure what for.
Comes back out on the track there. That's interesting indeed. I wondered. I haven't driven. I think Andy Keane might have a black flag as well. I'm seeing, if I'm not mistaken. I think that I've not seen. Well, I've not driven this track in iRacing here, as evidenced by the fact that at the start of this race I didn't own it. But I'm wondering if it's easy to get a slowdown somewhere on this track. And serving it has proved super difficult while trying to keep a bit of pace. Or maybe people are just getting so many off tracks here. But I'd be very surprised. I mean, Harrison is a good driver. But that's like only the amount of incident points accumulated had hit 21 already, 43 minutes into this hour-and-a-half race. As Eric's got a black flag as well, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we had a handful given out. Andy Keene had one. It looked like David Michael Sorrow had one. Eric had a slowdown. It looks like he was able to get rid of it.
Ah, right, okay. That's a bit different.
So it's
Andy Keene,
yeah,
I think.
I'm not sure.
Oh, there's a car sideways there. I think that might be Garcia, who Michael Rhodes and Akos here just went past. Yeah, Andy Keene's in the pits now. I know he'd just come out of the pit lane after towing, so I wonder if he didn't have his pit limiter on and picked up a pit lane speeding penalty instead of getting it. But interesting to see someone like Harrison getting a black flag in this race. I can only assume it's from an unserved slowdown.
That's the only thing that I can think. We'll have to see if we can get one of those guys into the comms booth after the race here and see if they can explain what happened there.
Absolutely. I haven't seen any complaints particularly about this track like I might have seen of others where getting off tracks is easy. I am seeing a lot of cars go off of the track, but I'm not sure whether they're picking up an iRacing off track or a slowdown for their troubles. Halfway point of this race. Then we're currently looking at the car of Michael Rhodes, his closest set of cars on track right now. He is behind Akos Varga, fellow Pro-Am class driver. He won't be staying behind him for very long though if he goes out wide like that. Maybe the effect of that damage and getting close up into the draft of the car behind, and it'll certainly be picking up a 1x for that one. And indeed, he ends up with a lap time 7/10 of a lap slower than Akos in front of him. But it looks like he's managed to gain back at least some of that time already. Indeed, as it looks like, oh, we've got that the wrong way around. Let's have a look at it this way. There we go. It looks like Michael Rhodes has kind of been on a consistent drop back from Akos in front of him. Obviously, that lap 32 being a bit of an anomaly with him heading off of the track, but he's at least trying to keep pace with him. He'll hopefully, he still for his sake, he still has that fast repair left, and he's off the track once again at the same position, dragging lots of gravel wide. Oh, he's certainly not going to be staying close at this point, and maybe that damage is doing a bit more than we can see, especially from that second collision that he had with the wall. As David Michael Sarro once again in the pit lane. I think that might have been from that black flag you mentioned, Zach. Although he has stopped in his pit box as far as I can tell. Not sure whether this is a scheduled refuel or whether he's decided to call it a day for this race. We'll keep our eyes on it as let's head a little bit further up the field now. Brandon Vincent Squibb currently, who is right on the back of Carsten Walter. Now you can see that gap has come down over the last 5 or 6 laps or so, and now Vincent Squibb, who has been very quick here today, looks up the inside, makes it look very easy indeed, and he makes his way up to 6th position.
It seems as this field starts to spread out and everyone kind of finds their group, these faster lap times are starting to come in.
Indeed. Well, it just flicked over there, and quite helpfully indeed, Vincent Squibb, you can just see the gap on Nagy Bayer in front. It's come down from just under 8 seconds to 1.4 seconds, in, well, about 6 or 7 laps here, and he is absolutely making a charge. As I say, I think I might have lost connection to the iRacing session. Can you still hear me, Zach?
I can hear you.
Okay, well, let's hope for our sakes that indeed it looks like... Oh, there we go, it's back. We had a brief moment where iRacing decided that we weren't connected anymore, but do not fret, we are back. There's still 40 minutes left on the clock, and apologies for that. Might have actually been my internet connection there, as it looks like the YouTube stream had a bit of a glitch as well, but I think we're back and everything is fine now, as it is Brandon Vincent Squibb who is right on the back of Gabor Nagy-Beyer. In that 10-20 seconds that we were gone, Vincent Squibb has pulled up to be 2 tenths behind. He has unreal pace at this stage in the race.
It seems like he's definitely found his groove on the track, and he's making his way through and getting those positions.
Absolutely, we can ride on board with him, but is the pass going to be that easy? Because we've seen how difficult it is around here. Very tight track, and that Aston Martin is not the thinnest of cars, nor is the Ford Mustang. Garcia heads into the pit lane, P17, looking like that's more like a fuel stop, because 50 minutes into this race, if you're gonna do the splash and dash, might as well commit to it. And I haven't seen any particular collision that he had to lead him into the pit lane. He went for a bit of a spin earlier on, but didn't see any damage from that. Looking around the outside for Vincent Squibb. I think you've got to be pretty brave to go around the outside here, but he's going to try it. Nothing for him, but has he pushed Nagy-Beyer into a mistake? He has. He went on the grass, but he hasn't pushed him into enough of a mistake to make the move stick. But he's slow once again. This whole flowing section, he's upset him all the way through. Oh, they look so close to contact there, as Nagy-Beyer, with a little bit of a wiggle on the outside, does manage to keep that 5th position, but they've slowed each other up so much that Carsten Walter has come into this battle for P5.
I mean, that's what you got to be thinking about, is how much you're going to race versus, fighting the person in front of you may let the person behind you catch up. But we're also heading into the, almost the last 30 minutes of this section. So to some extent, you got to start making those choices and start moving up the field if you're going to.
And indeed, this is for a victory in that Pro-Am class as well. So there's a bit more stake on the line for both of these drivers. And I'm sure that Walter behind, as I have on many occasions. Up goes Vincent Squibb on the inside. A bit of a late move, but he makes it work. And he's got all the way past Nagy-Beyer there, who gives him a bit of a flash. But from my point of view, that just looked like a smooth move up the inside there.
Yeah, I think that's about as good as it gets. You get the car slowed down. He was on the inside, and he definitely was side by side by the time they hit that corner. So clean move and well done.
Absolutely. And now Nagy-Beyer, well, we said it, has Carsten Walter to worry about, and it looks like staying on the back of Vincent Squibb on this lap as well. Aston Walter, he doesn't have to worry about anymore, who's off into the gravel. I think might have got a bit distracted by the car in front and decided to head off the track, because let's see what happened here. Yeah, got a bit of a wiggle on the way in, actually, and ended up heading towards the gravel trap, and he had Harrison Brinker behind him, so don't want to be getting in his... Whoa! And he turned in there. I don't think he realised that Harrison was coming through. But luckily, not a big accident on this occasion.
Yeah, really close, but I think they got out of that with
yeah, that was
with very almost no damage. So I think they can both kind of take a deep breath, let that one go, and focus forward.
That is certainly one of the scary moments where, you know, neither looked like they knew what each other was doing on that occasion. And is that Michael Rhodes with a black flag I can see?
He did have a black flag, and he was in the pit, so it looks like he was serving that that black flag.
There it is, absolutely. So an interesting amount of black flags. We're only an hour in. We normally run 2-hour races with the same incident limit. So I'm very intrigued to know from some of these drivers if this is coming from a particularly nasty off-track somewhere, or whether they are just getting so many off-tracks. There's not been masses of collisions or loss of controls there for getting these black flags out onto the track.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I'm very curious to see what it was. I'd be hard pressed to believe that it's incidents, but I could be completely wrong. I mean, this is a new track for some drivers. It is very technical and tight, so it very well could be that this many drivers are hitting that incident limit.
Absolutely. As we're starting to approach our second round of pit stops here, just to remind you of what the pit strategy is looking like for our leaders right now. So Kip Blair, he did 21 on his first stint, which is exactly the same as Jake Pitt behind him. Matthew Cheverton did 2 laps less on 19, but he's done 20 this time around, so he's managed to do a bit of extending. Djokovic 23 leaving the charge in number of laps he can do, and Vincent Squibb 20 as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that shakes out at the end of the race there, to see who needs to take a pit stop and who doesn't. Someone who's taking a pit stop right now, it's Jake Pitt, who's into the pit lane.
Yeah, it looks like he's been running 19 lap stints, with about 33 minutes left with how these tanks have been working. He's most likely going to have to stop for a splash here before the end of this race.
Absolutely, and I think as well, it's from the evidence I'm seeing on my screen, it is the shortest of the top 5. Because Cheverton did 19 on his first stint, but he's done 21 so far this time around. So I think indeed it's the shortest of the top 5, and I think that's going to come back to bite him at the end of the race, because not only is he going to have to make a splash, a few others are going to have to as well, but he's going to have to take the longest pit stop at the end, and that can cost you a good couple of seconds.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and if you end up being the only one of those top drivers that even has to pit at the end, that could be even worse.
Indeed. Eric Gerhard here, he's right on the back of Sean Ferreira in that Mercedes, and none of these guys have taken a pit stop, as Matthew Cheverton does head into the pit lane, as does Brandon Vincent Squibb. They're short of the hour mark as well. They're going to have to take a little splash at the end as well, I think. They're just a lap or 2 short at the end. And, well, it's looking like maybe Kip Blair and Gabor Nagibeya might be doing okay out there, as Eric passes Sean Ferreira into the pit lane.
Yeah, it looks like for most of these drivers, 20 to 21 laps is, if you're fuel saving pretty well, you're getting 21 laps. The average is 20, and we got some people pitting at 19 laps. So, for Jake, it's definitely gonna come back to bite him if these other drivers are able to pull out, these longer stints.
I think I just heard Harrison Brinker potentially heading off the track there. Looks like, yeah, he's got a bit of damage to the rear of his car. Oh, what the hell? Sorry, I was looking at a different display there of what happened to Harrison Brinker, but he's reset to the pit lane. He's gone for a spin again in this first half of the lap, and he's into the wall. And that has not done well for his race. And I think he's got a bit frustrated trying to get back on the track, and I think he's just given it the end of the day, because that very much looks like a rage into the wall to me.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Maybe calling it the end. Very frustrating outing for him here in this second feature.
Indeed, and unfortunate for him because he has been running some very quick lap times, indeed, but not particularly happy at this point in the race, and maybe he'll head back out there. He is only showing in the pit lane and hasn't disconnected from the session just yet. But yeah, a very frustrating race for him, as I've expanded our view onto the pit strategy to cover the top 10, so you can see how it's evolving as the track carries on. We are coming up to that hour mark now, so you're kind of saying that anyone from now onwards who comes into the pit lane is not going to have to make that splash and dash towards the latter laps of this race, unless Kip Blair decides to massively slow down the pace and maybe give up all of his 15-second lead or so to reduce the race by one lap. Djokovic goes through. He takes the lead of this race back. So who's not going to be able to make it to the end? Well, at the moment, it looks like maybe Pitt, Vincent Squibb and Cheverton at this stage. And we'll see once everybody comes across the line again. And you can see their little pit information box expand. Ferreira, he's in second place right now. He had to pit very early in this race. I think it was lap 2, potentially. He's kind of taken that splash and dash already, and it's not gone terribly for him, being in P2. I might not stay there, but it's still a great result when you've had to come in the pits after 2 laps of your race.
I think so. You're be able to go into the pits, pull yourself together and get a good fuel strategy back together. It's definitely not out of your hands, but it's definitely difficult to come back, and he's done quite a job.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with you, Zach, as indeed Djokovic right now is leading the way. Mike Rhodes comes into the pit lane once again. A dreadful race for him so far, maybe potentially only saved by the fact he won't have to do a splash and dash at the end of the race. Well, we've seen Brandon Vincent Squibb make up quite some positions in this race. He's currently right on the back of Jake Pitt, and certainly going to be interesting to see. I think, unless I'm mistaken, both of these cars might be on very similar pit strategies. I think you'll have to confirm that for me, Zach, whether Vincent Squibb's been into the pit lane yet.
Let's see here. He is on his 3rd lap out right now.
Oh, that also suggests to me that he's going to have to make a splash at the end.
He did pit, from what I can tell, if they pit around lap 41 or so, they should be good to the end of the race. So he might be right on that line where he's just really hoping that this race doesn't go the extra lap, or he might end up having to stop and get that splash of fuel.
This battle here, apologies, I lost my audio. I'm sorry if I spoke over you, Zach. I lost my audio there for a good couple of seconds.
All good.
Brandon Vincent Squibb round the outside, Jake Pitt on the inside. They're very close together, but it's Brandon Vincent Squibb who makes it up the inside and up into 4th place. Please do remind me what you said, because I didn't hear any of it.
I was just talking about if he's able to make it. So from what I could tell, around lap 41 to 42, if that's when drivers pit, they should be good to the end. But 41 is kind of getting on that line where if they go the extra lap, he might be in a little bit of trouble. So he's right on that border as far as I can tell on whether Brandon's going to need to stop for that splash or if he's going to be able to make it to the end.
Indeed. So, yeah, Vincent Squibb came in on lap 41, Jake Pitt on lap 40, Cheverton came in on 41, so did Sean Ferreira, JT Sawyer, and Akos Varga. So I think those kind of, they're on the border of whether they can make it to the end of this race.
Yep, I think we're right there. And then anyone who is able to make a stop 42 or higher, I'm pretty confident they should be able to make it to the end of the race on the current fuel they're at. So we'll see as it gets closer. I'm about 90% sure that Jake, who pit a little bit early, is definitely going to have to stop for a splash. I think it's those 41 lappers where it's really going to depend on, you know, how much fuel they're able to save this last stint and what they're able to get done.
Indeed, but
and it does look like Harrison has left the server, so he has DNF'd for this race.
Indeed, that's the case. You can see it a bit more on a strategy view and how people have got here now. So it's Ferreira, who is our last driver who needed to come and stop in the pits. I think I just heard a clunk of someone's engine exploding. I think that might be Garcia, who has been in the pits for 7 laps. And hasn't come out, but he might have left his engine running. Well, a battle happening on the track then. It's Matthew Cheverton and Jake Pitt here, and indeed, it is going to be the lapped car that's getting in between them right now. And Matthew Cheverton very much wanting that lapped car to get out of the way as quickly as possible because he's trying to chase down Jake Pitt in front of him. But they're all running 1, 2, 3 in a little line, and much like not being able to pass, there's not too many places to let a lapping car past here. As up the inside, Matthew Cheverton on Michael Rhodes there. Extended the gap a little bit, did Jake Pitt, thanks to the lapped car of Michael Rhodes, but not a massive amount of time loss between them. You can see these two very close all race long. And indeed, over the past few laps as well, they've been trading back a little bit in terms of lap times between them. Pitt looking slightly faster at this point, but then Cheverton lost quite a bit of time, lap 45 and lap 46. So this battle is going to keep on going for quite a while.
We're heading into this final 20 minutes, so, you know, if you're going to start making up those positions, depending on how far back, you really got to start making choices and how risky you want to be and how much you're willing to gain or give up in this last 20 minutes to get those positions.
Yeah, and indeed, you've just got to stay on it, because now you've got your own mini sprint race to complete. The gaps are a bit larger, especially between some of these cars. But you've got to put yourself back in that sprint race mindset, and I think someone who's pushing very hard indeed, Nick Djokovic right now. He's just gone half a second faster than Kip Blair on that last lap, and in fact, Brandon Vincent Squibb has gone half a second faster than Nick in that. I think that with just over 20 minutes to go, those who've managed to make their way back up through the field, through this reverse grid sprint race, are now coming quite hard onto Kip Blair.
it'll definitely be interesting to see how much time these drivers are able to close down in the remaining time that we have, or if Kip was able to get just enough of a gap that he's able to hold himself in the lead here until the end.
Yeah, 7 seconds over 20 minutes is the gap from Kip getting the overall race lead in this race. And overall race victory. It'll give him a great haul of points in that AM Class Championship. And indeed, it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of lap time he does right now. He does a 22.938. Nick behind him does a 22.595. And then Brandon Vincent Squibb a 22.183. I think Nick and Brandon need to put battles aside here if either of them want to take the overall race victory, because if they start battling, Brandon being quicker, then they're very much going to be in trouble in order to catch Kip, gaining at about half a second to 0.3 of a second a lap. I think they're just going to have to keep it clean from here on out, because 20 minutes, you're looking at about 15 to 16 laps or so to go to the end. So indeed, they're going to have to stay very clean in order to catch him up. It's looking like a little bit now that they're in clean air. It's Cheverton here having a little bit of the pace on Jake here, and he's looking for a little bit of a move. He's been about 2 to 3/10 or so, and he's up the inside now, and that is a beautiful move up the inside, and he's going to be up into that 4th place. I don't think Jake Pitt really has an answer for him right now, but is he going to be able to point his car up the inside? No, because it is going to be Matthew Cheverton who's fiercely defending the inside on the approach to the hairpin, and now, well, you're looking at very few opportunities to get past until you get back there again. This has also brought Nicholas Ferreira into this battle as well, because that little move has brought him in within half a second of this battle for P4 overall. While this is going on, I am keeping my eye very keenly on that gap to the leader. It is now under 6 seconds, but these are the close cars on track. Your battle for 4th position overall. They're all pro class drivers. They're also all competing for class position as well. Another half a second for Nick Djokovic, and another 0.6 of a second or so for Brandon Vincent Squibb out there in front. All of these guys around us setting reasonably similar lap times, and I think it's once one of them gets the toe, they become the faster driver, just looking at how Jake Pitt is keeping with Matthew Cheverton here. Actually, it has been Nicholas Ferreira at this point in time who has the highest pace of any of these drivers. You saw that on lap 50 there, how he gained over a second on these two battling in front. And it's one of those things where you've got the fastest driver at the back, so it is compressing this whole battle up together. on this particular lap, looks like Cheverton's managed to pull out a nice gap, and maybe this is the beginning, not necessarily of his charge forward, but of his pull away from these two cars behind him to cement his position as we approach the final 15 minutes of this race, or so. Little wiggle there for Jake Pitt, and it's now the gap in the lead under 5 seconds overall. So we are watching vehemently to see whether it is Nick Djokovic who's able to take that overall victory, or whether it will be Brandon Vincent Squibb, who is very fast indeed up behind him. In fact, he is less than a second now behind him. Let's go and have a little look at Vincent Squibb, who you can see in the middle of your picture right now, and then that Porsche right in front of him is Nick Djokovic, as they are going after the overall race lead, but they do need to work together here. With 15 minutes to go, you're looking at about 12, 13, 14 laps potentially towards the end, and you don't want to waste them battling between each other, as you'll just watch that time in front of you to the leader absolutely fall away.
Yeah, you got to work together to catch up, and then once you're caught up, you're back to being enemies again, right?
Absolutely. It might make an interesting scrap towards the end of this race, but I think if I was Brandon right now, I'd definitely be thinking, if I haven't already, hopping on the voice chat and asking Nick if they want to work together and how they want to work together, because there's two ways to go about this, really. You can leave Nick in front and essentially have Brandon do a bit of bump drafting along the straights to give him a bit more pace towards. He's not doing either of that. He's up the inside and then completely ruins the plan that I was thinking of. Looks a little bit to me like Nick led him up the inside there, if I'm completely honest. And that was the second plan, where Nick lets him through and uses the extra pace that Brandon's got to kind of tag along and use the slipstream in order to catch up Kip. And I don't know if they pre-communicated that, but it certainly looks like what they're doing.
I think it's just drivers knowing drivers. Listening to the voice chat over here, it's been pretty quiet for the last 45 minutes or so. So it looks like they just kind of know what's going on.
Yeah, they had that thought of, okay, well, battling is certainly not going to get us to the lead. The gap is 4.5 seconds. And Nick just sticking in the slipstream of that Mustang, which will be mighty down the straight. Sean Ferreira into the pit lane now. And yeah, certainly is sticking with him, at least for the opening part of this lap. And can hopefully use that extra pace that Brandon has to get up towards the overall lead. And at that point, maybe they can battle it out. But we can have a look once again at the time delta, and over the past 8 laps, the gap has come down to 4.5 seconds, but 8 laps, 5 seconds is about the gain, 6 seconds actually, and you've got 4 seconds, and well, only a couple more than 8 laps to go.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to come down to the wire. We'll see if he's able to keep these laps up, keep this speed going, and catch Kip and make this a race.
Well, this isn't going to help. They've got a lapped car in front of them. I'm not exactly sure who that is, but Brandon is very much saying, get out of my way because I have some catching to do. And he's actually lost about 2 seconds behind that lap car. That's not going to help in his pursuit.
Definitely not.
As Matthew Cheverton here in front of Jake Pitt and Nicholas Ferreira down in 4th, 5th and 6th. We were watching this group of cars a little bit earlier on, and certainly this is a gap that has stayed absolutely solid you can see where they swapped over a little bit earlier in the race. But for now, it is Pitt right on the back of Cheverton, 0.3 of a second, and he's got Nicholas Ferreira right behind as well in this battle for 4th place overall. And there was a slowdown there from one of them. That was very slow for Nicholas Ferreira. Actually, I think that might have been Matthew Cheverton. I wonder if that maybe be where they're getting an off track, because he absolutely slammed on the brakes to let them through and didn't want to get a penalty.
Maybe it might be that the off track there is just so short that you don't have time to like let off the gas to make up for it.
It could be as well that maybe Matthew is close to that incident limit with 10 minutes to go, that he absolutely does not want an off track there and just slowed up a little bit too much.
That could also be the case.
Well, now it is Jake Pitt who leads this little battle. And Nicholas Herrera in beside, and Matthew Cheverton, who was leading this battle, is 6 tenths behind 4th position. You know what's that? I'm just watching these lap times. Kit Blair was only 0.1 of a second slower than Brandon Vincent Squibb on this lap. And I think maybe his charge has potentially been slowed a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what has slowed Vincent Squibb down on this lap so much, but he was charging at half a second a lap. Well, maybe up to a second a lap at some point in there, and that looks like it's slowed a little bit now. I might have put a bit of a dampener on our end of race battle.
It might have just been might have just been the traffic. I'm not seeing any incidents or anything.
Let's bring up our race track display, and we can see it. We're looking on the track map for Vin, and indeed I can't see any traffic he's in right now. Might have just had a bit of a bad lap. He has Nicholas.
Looks like he did collect an off track, so maybe it was that off track that put his time just a little bit further back from what he was normally running. 'Cause it does look like he's right back up to the 121.8, so he's back to running those 121s now.
Might have just been an incident, as they say, and indeed, but he has given himself a bit more of a mountain to climb, as there are 8 minutes left in this race. He's got 5 seconds to catch, and then he's got to execute the pass. He's got the 12th place of Akos in front of him, who'll be hoping to get out of the way very quickly indeed. But I think he's got a big mountain in front of him, especially with having to lap that traffic.
Yeah, if I was him, I would have thought maybe 3 or 4 laps earlier I'd want to be caught up. Definitely running out of time as we get closer to the checkered flag here.
It's proven the entire race that it is a difficult place to execute a pass. We've got a car off the track in front who is letting all of these through. That's James Vernon. Akos is actually headed to the pit lane for his splash and dash as Kit Blair sets his fastest lap of the race, a 21.988. That's faster than Vincent Squibb. It's also faster than Nick Djokovic. I think he's he managed to stabilize that gap at about 5 seconds to a point where it's going to be almost impossible to usurp by the end of this race, pending anything else going wrong.
Yeah, as long as he can keep all 4 tires on the ground and keep it on the black stuff, then, he's looking pretty all right.
So looking at the pit strategy as well, 16 laps, 18 laps, 14 laps. We're looking, what, we're 7 minutes to go. 5 to 6 laps to go. No one there is going to be troubled. I think the only person in that top 5 who's going to be troubled by having to come into the pit is going to be Jake Pitt, who is at the front of this battle right now. But it has been pushing hard because he's had 3 cars to fight with, and I think he's going to have to come into the pit lane while they don't have to, and unfortunately lose those positions.
Yeah, I will be incredibly surprised if he's able to make it. We'll know here at the end of this lap, because this is lap 19. So if he's going to pit, this would be his normal time when he would have to come in.
Well, let's watch what happens to him as we come round this corner here, and he's not into the pit lane. This has been 20 laps now, so he's managed to get 1 more lap out, but that Lamborghini doesn't look like it's got the best fuel efficiency out of the cars out there on the grid. It's a rare car to run, so potentially it is not particularly well fuel balanced out there. And yeah, I'm just looking at it, and the best he did was his opening stint. He did a 21, so I fail to see 5 minutes to go that he's going to be able to stay out there unless he's done some mega fuel saving, which I don't believe he's really done in this race.
I think even then, even the best of our fuel savers in this league were only able to get 21 laps. I'd be hard pressed to believe he's going to get an extra 3 laps of fuel. I think he's going to have to stop this lap and get some fuel back in that car.
Well, let's see what happens on this lap. Has he had some extra fuel tanks strapped to the side of that car? I think the unfortunate answer for him is going to be no. It looks like he's heading towards the pit lane. No, he's continued for 1 more.
All right, I stand corrected. We'll see. Maybe he's able to pull 22 laps out, or maybe he just forgot that he needed to pit.
That would be...
Let's hope it's the earlier of the 2.
That would be awfully unfortunate. I have seen endurance teams do that. I think not the most recent one, but the year before at the Bathurst 12 Hour, where they come out of Forest's Elbow and they've got an entire, where all of your fuel goes in the lap, the entire straight, and just run out of fuel halfway down it. When you forget, you just get in that rhythm, and you need to remember to come into the pit lane, especially if you don't have a teammate with you at that point in time. It can be pretty difficult when you're in that flow state. Michael Rhodes has come into pit. He had a very long pit stop. It was 21 seconds. I wonder if he accidentally left his tyres ticked on towards the end there. And surely this is the lap for Jake Pitt to head into the pit lane. Brandon Vincent Squibb, he's in the pit lane. I didn't expect that particularly. He's done a 21, a 20, and now in comes Pitt as we imagined. But Brandon Vincent Squibb, did he use a bit too much fuel? He's one potentially
he ran
2 laps away.
21 laps, so I think maybe this is going to be a combination of the race potentially going an extra lap on top of... I think you have to run 321s to get all the way to the end. So if he ran a 20 in the middle, that's going to cut a lap off of what he'd get in the end. And then if we're running an extra lap, then he's going to be 2 laps short, right?
His initial stint was 20. So he did a 20, a 21, and a 21 this time around. So I think that's maybe what's cursed him, that initial stint with that formation lap.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it. I think to get even close to the last lap, you need to have done perfect 21s all the way through. And I think even then, they might even be cutting it close. With 1:45 left, if we go an extra lap, they're going to be out, I think.
So we've got Kip Blair. He's done 19, and he's about to cross the line to do 20. So do we think that he's safe? I think he's just maybe by a couple of seconds, missed the white flag on this lap, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, and I think if they go an extra lap, maybe they're able to do some insane fuel saving here, but I think they might have to stop.
Well, let's see what happens as Matthew Cheverton, when he's come out of that pit lane, he does have a car to pass. That's Akos Varga. Let's go have a look at what Kip Blair is doing. We haven't seen too much of him this race. He's just been cruising out front, and I don't believe he's on the final lap of the race. Maybe he can do another 22. He's done it once in this race.
He's gonna have to. I think they're gonna have one more lap to go when he passes. They still have 30 seconds to go. I think this next lap would be his blue flag, or will be the white flag. Sorry.
It's Kip Blair who's giving out the blue flags today rather than receiving them. One last close battle left on the track. It's Jake Pitt, who did just come into the pit lane. He's right on the back of Eric here. He obviously wouldn't have taken tyres this late into the race. And how is this battle going to shape itself up? 10th of a second between them. It's going to be a place for class position and overall position here. Is there going to be one final set of fireworks at the end of this race? Matthew Cheverton is in the pit lane now. He's going to come out around this battle as well. Is he going to be able to get up to speed, as they're all looking like that maybe we judge the pit strategy wrong, as Carsten Walter heads into the pit lane. Order of this race being changed significantly, and there we can see it. The white flag is out. So, what can Jake Pitt do on this final lap? Can he get that position back off of Eric Gerhard? Let's stay with him for this entire lap. What is going to happen here for Jake Pitt? He's had to come into the pits a bit earlier than everyone else in the Huracan. Looks like a bit of a bad exit for Eric, but is he going to be able to make that Porsche as wide as he possibly can? The DRX sport car. He's looking up the inside. The checkered flag is out. It is going to be Kip Blair, who's your overall race winner today. He has had a fantastic drive, but for now we're going to stay on board with these drivers. Is there going to be a last little move at the end here for Jake Pitt? He's running out of time. What's going to happen? He looks around the outside. He's tried to cut back, but there was a car there, and I think that they're going to finish in this order unless it's been an insane run for Jake Pitt here. He looks up the inside. It was a little bit of a desperate move, I think, because there was nowhere for him to go. And indeed, checkered flag. That is how that race is going to end. But we should give him the praise that he deserves. Kip Blair, he's actually left the track already. I thought I'd see him doing some donuts out there, but not on this occasion. I had not had the
fuel for it, honestly.
Very true. He might have just held on at the end. There's Carsten Walter come across the line in P9, then Sean Ferreira. A great race for Kip here. I think that has been absolutely sensational. Michael Rhodes comes across the line, disappointing last place in his class, and I don't think he'll be wanting to see too much more of this racetrack after he has got out of his car today, as he goes for a little bit of an adventure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's going to want to, step away from the rig, put this behind him, and try to move forward next week.
Absolutely. Well, let's head over to our overall race results then. Beep, boop, beep. Make sure I press the right buttons to bring up our overall race results. So it was Kip Blair there who was your overall race winner. Nick Djokovic in behind, Nicholas Herrera, Brandon Vincent Squibb, and Eric Gerhard make up your top 5. Jake Pitt, he had to pit and ended up P6 with the Gabor Nagy-Beyer. In behind him with Matthew Cheverton in P8, Carsten Walter P9, and Sean Ferreira makes up your top 10. JT Sawyer, second place in the AM class, 11th place overall, and 10 places behind the AM class winner. James Vernon is in P12 with Akos Varga and Michael Rhodes in 13th and 14th respectively. Bad race for Rudd School in P15, 2 laps off the end of the race. Not a great race either for Andy Keane, 4 laps down. We saw what happened to the many spins of Harrison Brinker in this race. He finished 24 laps down today, with Garcia in P18. If we squidge down one more result, our final driver today, 34 laps down, is going to be David Michael Sorrow. And let's just have a quick look at what that means for our championship results overall. So 7 cars in the pro class, and it's going to be Nick Djokovic, who is your pro class winner. Then in Pro-Am, Brandon Vincent Squibb is your Pro-Am winner today. I'll get it right eventually. And then, as we saw, overall winner, Kip Blair, who is going to be, have given an absolute drive today. He was a lap in front of JT Sawyer. Absolute achievement for him. So, as I try to... oh, don't worry, it wasn't your computer that did that. It was mine, and we can go back and have a little look at some of Kip's driving today. Let's press the right button there. Oh, that's not the right button there. We'll get it eventually. There we go. That is exactly what we wanted, and I think that Kip is going to be talking to us today. He's in the interview room right now. I'll drag him in and say a massive congratulations to you. Tell me how your race was out there.
Thank you. It felt pretty good. I messed up in the sprint race, so I decided I was just gonna sit in the pits and wait till P19, and then the grid switched, and I was hoping on JT helped out a lot with slowing down the pro class cars and helped me run away.
We thought a little bit towards the end of that sprint race whether a few drivers who were at the back might think, well, I might as well go in the pit lane and start from pole position. Were you expecting that pole position to end in an overall victory after that?
I was not. I was really expecting Harrison and Brandon to come charging all the way through the field and start to gap me. I got a little bit of luck involved with it.
Yeah, it looked like they kind of got slowed down an awful lot in the traffic. We saw a few cars. We saw Brandon coming up, with maybe 20 laps to go. They were really pulling down the gap between you. Did you feel any particular pressure or change your driving and speed up a bit, or was it still just a bit of a cruise for you?
No, I was scared crapless. If the white flag didn't come out, I would have ran out of fuel. I know Nick had an extra lap because he started from the pit lane. It was a really good strategy by him, and I got lucky with the white flag that time.
Absolutely, we thought that there were a few drivers very close at the end. We got some very different tracks coming up in the latter half of the season. We've got Laguna Seca up next, then Sebring. Any tracks coming up that you think might be a bit of a strong suit? Because, Brands Hatch may be a bit of an anomaly being so thin and so twisty.
Yeah, I love Laguna Seca, so I'm really excited for that one. I put a lot of preparation into this league race compared to the other ones, so I'm excited.
All right. Well, congratulations to you. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we get to talk to you a bit later in the season, but massive congratulations on your victory today.
Thank you so much.
All right, we will drag our pro leader in and be conscious of time with only a little bit of time to go before a DWR event going. But Nick, how was your race out there?
Oh, it was a blast. Such good racing. I kind of messed up and ran out of skill on the sprint race, but the feature went really well, like Kip said. I didn't plan to. That was not a strategy of mine. I just missed the start and started from the pits, but it worked out great. So Good race by everybody. That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun anyway. So
Indeed, we thought it might have been maybe a strategy, less of fuel, more to stay out of any chaos, because in the sprint race there was a car facing the wrong way by the time everyone got to turn 2. So thought that some had maybe started from the pits thinking that might happen again. But
yeah, 100%. I'd like to claim I'm that smart, but I'm not. It just worked out in my favor. So
perfect. And everyone was struggling with fuel out there. It looked like maybe there was a mega saving potentially to try and get to the end. What was kind of your perspective on that? Did you have to do a lot of saving?
I just, based on the sprint, I just, we had 30 minutes, and I knew I could do that with the tank of fuel. I just had to save, maybe a tenth of a liter or so a lap, and it worked out. So, I mean, I started like E20 basically, so I couldn't get kipped though. I didn't take tires on my last stop, because I was at like 43 liters adding in there, so it would have kept me in the pits for a little bit longer. But yeah, I couldn't catch Kip with the tires that I had. So good to him. It was a really good race by him.
Yeah, we saw that there was a bit of a charge from yourself and Brandon as well, who did have to pit at the end, and it looked like you were gaining a lot of time towards the end of the race. Half a second a lap, but you got to the final maybe 5 laps, and that looked to stop. Was that just all tires at that point they'd gone?
No, that was also, I was at 19 of 21 going into the last stint, the last 30 minutes, and then I picked up that 20 of 21 with about 5 to 7 laps left. So I really just had to be super careful and not get a drive through or whatever it would have been.
All right. Well, congratulations to you, and hopefully we see you a bit more later on in the season. Before you go, any particularly favourite tracks you're looking at towards the final 5 races?
What do we have up next? I don't even know.
So we're looking at the next 3 races at least. We've got a bit of an American tour of Laguna Seca, Sebring, and Road America.
Sebring's a huge favorite of mine, so that'll be a fun track. We'll see if it rains. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Sometimes.
Who knows? Indeed, it's all up to what iRacing decide for their weather there. But congratulations, and we shall catch you in a bit.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for the broadcast too. You guys are doing an exceptional job.
Thank you. All right. We're out of time here today before the launch of the DWR app. If you are in the DWR Discord, make sure you head over there. Well, right now, before we go, Zach, any parting words before we wrap up today?
No, that was an exciting race. I'm proud of all the drivers out there. There was some good luck, some bad luck, but overall some great driving. So I'm proud of where this league has come, and everyone out there has been doing a great job. So congratulations to all the drivers, and thank you for all the fans that are out here watching us. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for watching today, everyone, and big congratulations to all of our drivers. Thank you for watching. Please do join us next week, where we're going to be heading stateside to Laguna Seca. Have a good one.